Welcome, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs. I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Architects and Go Cloud Careers. I'm so excited to be here with you today. The reason we come online several times a week is to answer any type of cloud architect, solution architect, enterprise architect, or any kind of cloud computing career questions. See, I remember when I started off my technology career, my architect career 25 years ago, and let me tell you, it wasn't so easy. Everybody said, Mike, just get certified. But that didn't mean anything to hiring managers. They were looking for something else. And certification is part of it. But really, to build a career, to build a fantastic cloud computing career, it's really about being what the hiring manager wants. And if you're exactly what the hiring manager wants and you have the exact skills that the industry needs, not only will you get these cloud architect jobs or solution architect jobs or enterprise architect jobs, but you'll be hired fast and you'll be paid so much more. Because people purchase what they want. For example, if you wanted to go buy a car and you had an unlimited amount of money, you would buy the car that you desire. Same thing with a computer. So when we're talking about hiring people, hiring managers hire exactly what they want. So when you're building your cloud architect career or your solution architect career, or when you're really looking on how to get that first cloud architect job, it's really important to be exactly what the hiring manager is. So we're going to be taking lots of your questions. I expect lots of questions, as well as I also see Millicent here. And Millicent, when you have a chance, if you can give me a call, it's totally offline, but there's something I wanted to discuss with you, an opportunity for you, Millicent, since you're doing a lot to impress me every single day. So Clyde, we're super happy to see you. Joy, we're super happy to see you here. Let me tell you of some amazing free things we're doing to help you all get a cloud architect job, solution architect job, get AWS certified, or build your cloud computing career. On January 4th, we are going to run a live and completely free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate Bootcamp. It's going to be live. You'll be able to ask questions. Realistically speaking, there's no way to watch just plain old-fashioned videos by yourself and not be able to ask questions and truly call that a good learning experience. So we're going to do it live. We're going to make a live training class at the beginning of the month for the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate exam. And of course, when we teach that, we'll teach it architecture focused. Our version of a Certified Solution Architect Associate is half of a Certified Solution Architect Professional, half of a Certified Solution Architect Associate. And of course, we'll have some networking. Wow, I see my good friend Alonzo, Cloud Hired, Mr. Businessman, great to see you. And Milad, I'm going to be getting to your questions in 2 minutes, and we will answer any of these questions to help you, because I'd be honored to. So let's just talk about that. At the end of January, my team has been working to bring you a Cisco Certified Network Associate course. And again, it's going to be live and it's free. It may take us 2 weeks to do because the CCNA is about 4 times deeper than an AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. But let me tell you, you need to know networking if you want to be a cloud architect. The cloud is nothing more than a network in a data center that's been virtualized. And the network is the foundation of all of it. If the network doesn't work, nothing works. I mean, I could have told you this for 25 years of networking and consulting to the world's largest internet service providers, but look at it this way. Amazon has a network problem. Half of their systems are down. Regions, availability zones, it doesn't matter. Facebook has a network that's down, cost them $8 billion in a couple of hours due to a network mistake. That's how important networking is to cloud architecture, cloud computing, enterprise architecture, and everything else. So when you're looking for that cloud architect job, solution architect job, enterprise architect job, or you just want to be a great architect in general, make sure you know what the customer is looking for and things that you can help them. And the network is the foundation of everything. And that's why we're so big on networking around here. Then again, I've been in networking for 25 years. My CCIE number is 7417. So that tells you how long ago I've been in this. That was back when it was a 2-day test. So bring us any kind of cloud architect, cloud computing questions, and we'll bring them and we'll answer them for you. So now's your time to go ask some questions. If you're not a member, please subscribe and hit the bell to our channel. I'm going to give you one last free opportunity. And I encourage every one of you to not only take advantage of this, but tell everyone else. The amazing team at Go Cloud Architects, about 40 people plus me, came and made a brand new AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional ebook. It starts at ground zero, as if you've never heard of the cloud before, and it takes you all the way to the Certified Solution Architect Professional. Chris from my team will pop that in the chat box, and of course, these things are in the description below. So any of you that have got some questions, start answering them, and we'd love, love, love to help you with them. So keep that in mind. I wanted to make sure. Also, right now, to let you know, we are running an almost never level of discount that we would never normally do. We are running a 30% discount on for a 30% discount off of our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, where every single day one of my students says, guess what, Mike? I've just gotten cloud hired. We had 2 people last week, three people the week before that, 3 people the week before that. So we're super, super excited about it. So bringing your questions. I see some questions are coming in. So Chris, if you want to start bringing the questions, ask your questions now, and we're going to do anything we can to help you. Milad, what is the best strategy for an interview where you don't feel confident about your qualifications for the offered position? Well, Milad, as a rule, I don't apply for positions where I'm not confident about my skills. So generally speaking, I just don't do that. But if you're not really confident, Milad, here's some really interesting things I want you to think about. And I know you, Milad, and you're pretty fantastic. So what do hiring managers want? Hiring managers want one thing: the ability to do the job. Competency is number 1, the ability to do the job. Now, what is the second thing that hiring managers want most? Someone they can trust. So I want you to really think about that. Someone they can trust is number 2. So Milad, I want you to get really good at answering this question. I'm sorry I've not had the opportunity to learn that or experience that yet. But I'm highly energetic, I'm highly motivated, I'm incredibly enthusiastic and passionate about technology. And I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. And I know how to find answers to things very quickly. I'm a fantastic team player, and I'm willing to go above and beyond. What I really know a lot about is X, Y, and Z. So Milad, I want you to do this for the following reason. What do 95% of people do on interviews? They lie. They get asked a question they don't know and they lie, which ends the interview, even if the interviewer doesn't escort the person out of the building right then and there. When we interviewers actually literally get a lie, and what we literally do is say done. Now, Milad, I actually used to keep cookies in my office because I'd interview thousands of people. And the second someone lied to me, I just started feeding them cookies because there was not a chance, no matter what, I would ever hire them because I didn't trust them. So I might as well feed them cookies, put a smile on their face, and if they're talking and eating, if they're eating, they're not talking. So to put you in that context. So when you don't know, Milad, I want you to focus on the things that you do know. Maybe you're an expert at the network. Maybe you're an expert at the security. Maybe you're an expert on something. So focus on what you can do, what you do know, and then think about, Milad, how you can take the things that you know and how you can explain that and how it would affect another customer. How could you use your phenomenal knowledge to transform another customer's business? Because that's what we architects do. And whether managing architects or our architects, this is what we do. We're doing business transformation with business. So Milad, when my architects work, and I've got so many students that are out there as architects, they're like, Mike, you told me the cloud architect was a tech job. And I say, it is a tech job. They're like, Mike, I don't ever configure anything tech-wise. And I say, I told you never would touch the technology. You designed the technology. So, and then they say, but I don't do any programming. And I said, I told you you'd never touch the programming. You'd never be touching the management console. You'd never be touching the command line. What you're realistically going to do is you're going to design and sell and present and write. And that's what we do. So Milad, focus on your communication skills when you present things, because in all these interviews, they will make you present. There's no good job where you don't have to deliver a presentation on the interview. All real architect jobs, meaning architect jobs, not engineering, will mandate a presentation, and all management jobs will also. So focus on your giving a presentation. So Milad, what I would do, I would focus asking yourself the behavioral questions that we know AWS is like to do, or any of those FANG companies, because they're all now doing that. So focus on these behavioral questions. Tell me about a time when you did something wrong. Tell me about a time when you went above and beyond. Tell me about a time when something, et cetera, happened. So those would be the kind of things that I would realistically focus on. Those types of things. So I would focus on the leadership. I would focus on the likability. Be likable. Show some gravitas. Make a point when you communicate in pause. So Milad, here's the example. Today, we're going to design an architecture that's inclusive of 2 regions and 3 autonomous systems. Today, we're here to talk about an architecture of 2 regions, 3 autonomous systems, 2 availability zones, etc. So with gravitas, with oomph, and with power. And if you don't know Milad, say, I don't know this, but I'm really motivated. Those are the things that I would do. See, we hiring managers know you're not going to know everything. In fact, Milad, in most cases, we assume that whoever we hire is completely non-functional for 3 to 6 months, and we're going to have to train them. What we're looking for really is enough skill set to be good leadership skills, good emotional intelligence skills, likability, lots of emotional intelligence. Those are the things that matter, Milad, at least as much as your tech. So, Milad, focus on what you can win. Because, Milad, you're a very likable guy. You present yourself well. So focus on the communication excellence. Because when we interview, Milad, 50% is on the competency and 50% is everything else. So when you're new, it's that everything else that makes you stand above and beyond. And make sure you're not highlighting skills like programming. Make sure you're highlighting skills on leadership, design, or transformation, and you are going to be in great shape. Chris, if you want to bring in the next question. Mad over cloud. Do we have any recruiters in India? Some mad over cloud, but not that many. We have a tremendous number of students in India, and we have some recruiters in India, but nowhere near to the number that I would desire. I'd say we have about 15 of them, but nowhere near enough. But we have lots of students in India. They get hired all the time, and they do really fantastic. Chris, if you want to bring in the next question. Sanjay. How much time would it take for a developer who doesn't have the kind of knowledge you're talking about, network, virtualization, etc.? It feels good listening to you, but it seems difficult for doing it. Well, Sanjay, here's what I'm going to say. The software side is the farthest tech job away from the actual architecture side. Now, Sanjay, I'm also going to tell you this. I have software developers every day that graduate my programs and get great cloud architect jobs every day. And it typically takes about 4 to 6 months in my training program to get them hired. Now, if you had a networking background, I could say we could do it instantly. If you had a data center background and a networking background, again, we could do it almost instantly. In fact, if you had a networking and a data center background, you know what we'd have to teach you? The architecture side, how to design systems, how to present, how to sell. So Sanjay, when you're coming from a software side, the good news is you understand software. And you understand software development release cycles, and you still typically know a little bit about CPU processing, memory, single and multi-threaded applications. So a lot of that's good. But, Sanjay, your background honestly is irrelevant. And I know this is going to sound hard, but your background doesn't matter. Last week, Yvonne Tamba, who was working as a food server, just got hired by AWS as a solution architect. I had a Richard who got through my program who was hired by AWS as a technical account manager. And I don't think he ever had a job in his life because he just graduated college. So Sanjay, it's not where your starting point is. It's where your destination is. Do you know where I started, Sanjay? I practiced internal medicine. And one day I woke up and said, hey, I'm going to be in tech. I like networking. So 6 months later, Sanjay was the lead architect on the most critical team at the world's largest internet service provider. And I didn't work in tech, I knew medicine. So it's not hard to become anything with the right training and the right guidance and the right hard work and effort. So for people that come from a software background, it typically takes me about 16 weeks to 24 weeks. They go through a training program that's 250 to 350 hours, and they get hired and they do really, really, really well. But the key is having the right information put in front of you. And if you'd ask any of our students, and many of our students are on the call, they tell me they learn more in the first 3-hour session than they have in the last year trying to learn on their own. And they're the ones that are already certified. They're certified, but they don't know how to design the systems. So you'd be fine, Sanjay. It just takes time, effort, and motivation. I did it. I've got college students doing it all the time. I have people leaving behavioral health careers and getting hired all the time. I have people leaving database careers all the time. Again, not that related. I have people leaving software careers all the time. I have people driving Uber that have gotten jobs at AWS with the right training, but they worked hard. And they took our 500-hour version of this. They had focus. And yes, anybody can get hired with the will, the motivation, and you can too. So if you'd like to work with us, we'd love to work with you. As it turns out, we've got an incredible special right now at 30% off, something we almost never do, but that's neither here nor there. The key is when you have a goal, when you have a vision, set that goal. Build the right plan and go conquer that plan. No matter how big that plan sounds, it's impossible. couple of years ago, I was involved in an accident and the doctors told me I would never walk again. In fact, they told me I'd never even be able to sit in a chair again. But here I am talking to you. So go out there, go do it. Nothing is impossible. I'm telling you, every day I see miracles. I've seen people that, when I was practicing medicine, I'd see people that were supposed to die that walked out of the hospital and ran marathons a year later. And I've seen so many people go from no background to getting cloud architect hired in a matter of 8 months or less. So it could be you too. And you even have a tech background, so yours is much, much, much easier. So go out there and get the career you want. If you'd like to work with us, we can help you, but you can do it. No worries. Ranier Acosta, thanks so much for all you do to the cloud community. I am so happy to help. Ranier Acosta, thank you so much. Bobby Zeus, are you going to do an Azure Architect Bootcamp? Well, Bobby Zeus, in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, here's what we do. We teach all clouds. We never teach just a single cloud. This single cloud is a single point of failure. We have always taught our students how to do multiple clouds. We have never said it was acceptable to do a single cloud, and we feel a single cloud is the most ridiculous, most dangerous thing we've ever heard. So we teach Azure, we teach Google, we teach Oracle, we teach OCI, we teach OpenStack, we teach the cloud, Bobby. So if you really know the cloud, I can take any real cloud architect that knows AWS and I say, object storage, and they go to their cheat sheet and they say Microsoft Blob. And I say, we're not using DynamoDB. And they say, okay, where are you going to use Cosmos? It's no big deal. It's the same thing. Instead of using an Elastic Load Balancer, they use an Azure Load Balancer. Instead of calling a virtual machine something ridiculous like an Elastic Compute Cloud instance, they call it a virtual machine like it's really called. So yes, there's that. Now, will we do a free Azure Solution Architect Bootcamp? We'll probably do one in the next couple of months. It's something we've been thinking about. But realize this, if you want to work, it's not a matter of knowing one cloud. It's about knowing the cloud. Meaning, if you were to learn to drive, you don't go to a special class for a Mercedes and a special class for a BMW and then a special class for a Toyota and another one for a Chevy and another one for a Ford and another one for a Hyundai. That's crazy. You learn how to drive a car. The accelerator is the same in all cars. The steering wheel is the same. The accelerator, the brake, they're all the same. The gear shift, they're the same. They're just in different places. So, Bobby Zeus, learn the cloud, and you can work on any cloud. All my students do. And Bobby Zeus, if you're really a cloud architect and you're really working as an architect, I want you to understand how it's going to be. It's not like someone's going to hand you a piece of paper and say, build this for me. We're going to go to the customer, or we're going to ask our customer, tell me about your business. Tell me about your business goals. Tell me about your business pain points. Tell me about your business challenges. What are your competitors doing? What are you looking to achieve? That's the start. That conversation of what the customer does and wants, that's the start. That's what we do. We ask them what they want because our goal is to improve their business. Then, Bobby Zeus, we come up with the end state. This is how all innovation is done. The end state includes how we want the perfect user going through their journey. And the end state could include a new website, may or may not. It could include new applications, may or may not. It could include a new, It could include a new network. It could even be just something as simple as a cafeteria or an ice machine. Bobby Zeus, we're in charge of transforming the customer's business. So first we start with customer goals, then we design the end state. Then after this, Bobby Zeus, then we go back and we say, okay, we need a website. Okay. If we're going to use more than one web server, we need a load balancer, which means we need a couple virtual machines. Then we're going to need a load balancer for our app servers. And then we're going to have a database. And oh, wait, is it relational database? Okay, we'll use a relational database. Is it going to be something where we need unlimited scalability or flexibility in schema? We're going to choose a NoSQL database. And then, Bobby, what are we going to do? We're then just going to say, okay, on Azure, we need a load balancer. It's called Azure Load Balancer. On AWS, we need a load balancer. It's called Elastic Load Balancer. On Google, we need a load balancer. It's called Cloud Load Balancer. All we do is go to the store. We do the same thing for our virtual machines, the same things for our containers. And in the end, if we design on the technology, we can design it for every cloud and the data center all at the same time. So the people in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program know all clouds because there's really no ability to know a single cloud and actually have a real job in today's modern world. It used to be that 29% were on a single cloud like AWS. But last year, AWS made a business decision and affected a company that was inside of their network. And now only 3% of organizations use a single cloud. And now in the last 60 days, where Azure had a catastrophic outage and Google had a catastrophic outage and AWS had 2 catastrophic outages, affecting multiple regions and multiple data centers. No one's crazy enough to be using a single cloud anymore. So there's going to be a lot more. So if you want to be a cloud architect, you want to work as one, you'll be there. But guess what? We have an Azure training program put together already. We may actually make that public, but we definitely have one already, and we probably will make one available free on our YouTube channel coming very soon. But even if we do, still remember, learn the cloud, not a vendor's cloud, if you want to work and have a good career. Joy Mundo. With quite a number of people having the solution architect badge, how can you ensure you stand out from the crowd? Joy, this is the easiest question in the world. 99.999% of the people that have taken an AWS solution architect course have absolutely no idea anything about design or solution architecture. So Joy, here's the thing. Here's what the AWS solution architect course is: the name of a service and how to configure it. And you know what the job is? System design. So we never get to the name of the service, and we never configure it as architects, because we talk to our customers in terms of object storage, block storage, load balancers, firewalls. We're never going to talk to our customer with the term S3 or Elastic Load Balancer. They think we're a sales rep for Amazon, and we lose all of our architect credibility. So the following is what you have to do, Joy. First, realize an architect is not an engineer. So how do you stand out? You have to have a resume that stands out. Joy, you have to talk about the business transformation you've done with technology. Architected a new website for an organization that increased sales 22.7%. Increased a new video collaboration effort that decreased overtime by XYZ%. And created a new ERP system that enabled the organization to supply chain to be optimized, saving 11%. So you need to have that, because remember, Joy, the architect is not an engineer. We're not a configurer, which is why everything in solution architect certification training is really irrelevant for us in an architecture perspective. Now, we teach our architecture classes a little more based on design, but realize it's all irrelevant for the job. So how do you stand out, Joy? You show networking experience, knowledge of routing, knowledge of switching. You show knowledge of data center technologies, work with server virtualization, work with containers, work with firewalls, work with VPN concentrators, Joy. Show system design. Go out there and write some documents out there, make some videos, build a lab, build a cloud. So Joy, I'll tell you what we do with our students. So Joy, we know that you can have somebody can have all 10 AWS certifications and never be hired. In fact, if somebody has all 10 AWS certifications and they apply for a job from me, I won't even interview them. In fact, every time someone says, I've done a lot of certifications, I want to teach for you, I say, no. So here's the reason why. I need instructors that know something. So Joy, the things that I want you to do are as follows. Do not get yourself 4 or 5 associate level certifications. Don't go out yourself and get a Net Plus, an A Plus, Cloud Practitioner, Certified Solution Architect Associate, DevOps Associate. If you do that, your brand goes down. No one knows what you are. So Joy, here's what you do. From a certification perspective, we like 2 certifications. We like the Certified Solution Architect Professional or the Azure Expert. Then we'd like to find something you want to do. So maybe if you want to be in networking, we like a CCNP. Remember, the cloud is just a network and a data center that's virtualized. Or maybe you like to work in security, we like a CISSP or a CCSP. So what we're looking for is 2 direct professional certifications. Then, Joy, your resume needs to show business. So it should have, at the top line of your resume, something that says README. For example, mine says Mike Gibbs, MS, MBA, CCA, Google Professional Cloud Architect, and occasionally I list an AWS certification, not always. Then you should have an executive summary that shows what you can do for the organization. Show your leadership, your business transformation, and the things you've done for other customers. Then make sure your resume is all in executive terms, explaining. On your resume, you should talk about your digital transformation. Your resume should show you've got some infrastructure background, meaning some networking, router, switches kind of thing. If you don't have it, you're going to have to find something. Servers and server virtualizations and containers and firewalls and load balancers. So there's that. So what do we do, Joy, with our students? Well, first we teach them, twice per week. Then we have our students design architectures, deliver presentations, build their resumes, and they turn them in for feedback. So if you're not with us, make sure you do that. Then we have our students do a set of lab program. So Joy, everybody puts on their resume, I set up an S3 bucket or configured an EC2 instance. And Joy, I taught an 8-year-old how to do that in less than 5 minutes, and nobody pays you between $180 and $500,000 a year in order to do something that an 8-year-old can do. But what do they pay you to? Transform businesses, bring sales in. So focus on your presentation skills, focus on your leadership skills, focus on your emotional intelligence, and then do a set of labs. These are the labs that our students do. Students in the Go Cloud Architects program put that they are a Go Cloud Architects Cloud Architect Associate. And for us, they say deployed server virtualization for enterprise-wide computing, because they're doing it, deployed containers for enterprise-wide computing, design and deploys an enterprise-wide firewall and VPN remote access strategy, because my students are doing it. Then my students, set up the LAMP stack, Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP on real servers for web apps. Then my students set up NFS for enterprise-wide file sharing. Then my students set up Samba for enterprise-wide file sharing with Windows systems off of Unix servers. Then my students build a cloud, Joy, because when everybody else is out there saying, I set up an EC2 instance or a WordPress site, which non-technical people can do, my students go build a cloud. So Joy, if you want to train with us, you'll be good. If you're not with us, buy yourself a server, a Xeon server that's between 3 and 17 years old with 16 cores, 128 gigs of RAM, and 3 SSDs in a RAID 0 environment. All my students use these servers to go become one. All of them to build a cloud in their lab. So they have got this on the resume. So then when my students finish our program, I can call one of our 300 plus recruiters when they're ready to graduate, or the students can call the recruiters on their own, and they can get hired because they get put directly in front of the hiring manager so they don't get rejected by HR. That's our process. You can work with us. We'd love to work with you, or you could try and do that on your own. Mind you, our course is half of the price of the server that you'll need to use. And our course is about $25,000 to $50,000 if you purchase these items separately. But however you do it, all I care is that you get Cloud Architect hired. And whether you go to Speakeasy and take a 3-day presentation class for a couple of $1,000s for the day, and whether you take a $5,000 negotiation class from Harvard instead of ours, that's fine. We don't care. We just want you hired. It's just that we decided to do it at a price that anybody anywhere in the world could afford, because I'm retired. I don't need to work, and my retirement hobby is getting people hired. I'm training the next generation of technology professionals, and I'm going to do what I usually do, which is practice yoga. So as soon as this next generation of the thousands of people that are certified and not hired, or the people that are not certified that want to be cloud architects, once I get them hired, I'm going to go to Jamaica and practice Ashtanga yoga on the beach all day, listening to Bob Marley, Ziggy Marley, and Damian Marley, my favorite kind of music. But I want you all getting cloud hired. So for the next 5 to 10 years, it's my mission to get all of you guys cloud hired. Soccer Dad, you unfortunately can't attend the live sessions into the program and may have to catch up offline. Is that okay? Yes. You work 60 hours per week and pay for the program for an additional year to catch up. That's not necessary. Soccer Dad, we are not like any other organization. We care that you get cloud hired. That's all we care. So if you want to take my program and it takes you a year to get through it, that's okay. We let people stay in the program for a full year until you graduate. When you're hired, you graduate. So we let you stay a full year. And for some reason, Soccer Dad, if you're working 80 hours a week and you're trying to build a better life and it takes you 13 or 14 months, I don't care. I just want you cloud hired. So, there's nothing else that you need to do, pay for an additional program. Pay for it once. Send us a special email, a simple email when you got there, and say, Mike and Chris, I'm Soccer Dad. You saw me on YouTube and I'm a little slow and it might take me a little longer. And we'll just extend it as long as it takes for you to get hired, because you've got a specific reason. You asked us ahead of time, and no, we don't want you to pay for an extra year. I hope I answered your question there, Soccer Dad. We'd love to work with you. That's not who we are. We sell a course one time, we get our students hired. That's all we care, is that you get hired. Okay, wonderful. You heard that. Okay, Chris, if you want to bring in the next question. And if any of you have questions, please ask some questions. And before Chris puts up the questions, remember, don't forget to get your free AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional ebook. Link is in the description below. Don't forget to take our free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate Bootcamp, where we might actually talk about some architecture in addition to just certification in the first week of January. Please sign up when it's available for our free CCNA network training in the end of January. And don't lose the opportunity to get your 30% discount using coupon code CELEBRATE to our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, or our Tech Interview Mastery Program, or even our Future Leadership Program, which is pre-available right now, which is going to launch in January. Clyde, What is the starting salary for a newbie that has gone through your boot camp? Clyde, it really depends. I'd say the lowest salary I've had from a graduate is about 130,000 US dollars. I'm dealing with some graduates that are earning 300,000 plus, but I'd say the lowest I've ever seen is actually about 120, 130. And that's by far the lowest. And here's the reason why. There's the technical component of an architect. And actually, let's talk about this from a career management perspective from OU. One of the things that I see people do, and it really kills me, because it kills their cloud architect career, it kills their enterprise architect career, and it kills their solution architect career. When people get 2 or 3 certifications, they build a portfolio. But really what determines your salary, Clyde, I'll tell you what a manager told me back in 2001. I had a manager and he pulled me into a room and he says, Mike, do you know the difference between a $150,000 engineer and a $300,000 architect? And this was 20 years ago. And I said, tell me, I need to know. And my manager said, it's leadership skills, it's soft skills, it's emotional intelligence, it's executive presence and business acumen. He said, would you like to learn it? I'll send you to training. You're not like my engineers. He said, I don't know why, but you're not like an engineer. I said, because I practice internal medicine. I just happen to love tech. And my manager said, that's why you communicate differently. Anyway, I took about $250,000 of training. Some of the company paid for, some I did. And within a year, it paid for itself. So starting salary, I'd say, is 120 or 130. People get hired every day. Much, much, much better. Did they have certifications? Everybody gets some certification in my course, but they're usually the minimal certifications. Sometimes it's just certified solution architect associate. I've actually had people get it with no certifications too. In fact, usually when I get a lot of the students from a networking background, we can usually get them senior, principal, or distinguished roles with 0 certifications other than their networking background. So it's really about, can you do the job? The hiring manager wants to know if you can do the job. They don't care if you're certified. And the reason nobody cares if you're certified is there's a couple of websites. I could give you their names right now. Every one of you could go out there and pass all 10 AWS certifications in less than a week by going to the practice exams where you can do it. And that's why nobody cares if you have too many, because they want to know, can you do it? So you'll be great, great, great. And Clyde, you'll do great in either case. So if you have any further questions, Clyde, let me know. Chris, well, if anybody has any new questions, pop them in the chat box. If you like the content, please leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell so you'll be informed of new things like new courses. Sandy, what type of organizations have you seen recruiters help your students get hired from this year? What type of organizations do you see are more in demand for architects next year? Wow, Sandy, that's a really great question. So here's the places that I'm seeing hiring the majority of our students. We're seeing cloud providers like IBM, Red Hat, lots of people getting hired by Google, Azure, and AWS. But I don't actually think they're the best jobs. We're seeing some people getting really big, several $100,000 salaries in banks, far better than they're getting for these, other organizations. We see lots of them going to global retailers, and we see a lot of them going to telcos because all the phone companies are all building their own clouds as well. So realistically speaking, these are the places where I see them most. A lot of people want to go to the cloud providers, but there is a world outside of these cloud providers that are much better paying and some really, really good jobs. So, it's up to you. The management consulting companies, Bearing Point, Accenture, etc., great jobs. And they're also great, because they teach all the leadership skills as well. So the Bearing Points of Deloitte, Accenture. So the next you've got your cloud providers, but don't limit it to AWS, Google, Oracle, and Azure. Cisco's got a cloud, and they've been in the cloud world forever. And Palo Alto's got a cloud, and Dell's got a cloud, and IBM's got a cloud, Verizon's got a cloud. Everybody's got a cloud. So there's that. And now, Sandy, what was going on is we had data centers, then we had main clouds, and then we were starting to look at Nutanix for hybrid clouds, and the world was just going cloud. Well, hybrid clouds and multi-clouds are here, and they're here to stay. So anybody that has a data center right now is probably going to be hiring a cloud architect. They'll be replacing one of their network architects with a cloud architect. They'll probably keep one good CCNA network person Every big business will probably keep a good cloud architect or two, and they'll have a bunch of cloud engineers, and they'll have a bunch of sys people, and they maintain the current system. So I don't think there's any major enterprise that won't have cloud architects moving forward, Sammy. The same way the big enterprises have really expensive network engineers, they're also going to have their cloud architects. So I don't think it's where, I think it's which one of the 500,000 available cloud architect jobs will you choose from next year, Sandy? And Sandy, you're quite solid and capable, and I know you're going to get something very soon. Okay, who has bringing more questions? We'd love to answer them. How do you show recruiters in your resume when you don't have the work experience but have some hands-on training? Well, it's building that portfolio. So with our students in our program, we give them actual cloud architect work. So here's the thing, they will have a portfolio of architectures that can show people. They will additionally have a list of skills that they have to loop. They'll be working with server virtualization and containers and firewalls and VPN concentrators and Active Directory and LAMP stacks. You've got to have that on there. So whether you take our program, whether you buy a server, a 16-core Xeon server with 120 gigs of RAM, a minimum of 16 cores, and no less than 3 SSD drives in RAID 0 or an NVMe drive for the performance you're going to need. Because you're going to be building a cloud, and you're going to be building Active Directory servers, and you're going to federate that cloud to the Active Directory servers. You might even want to connect your cloud with the Azure and AWS cloud. So you're going to have to get it. So that's why we created our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, which you could do. And right now, that's $700. You can buy a server like this. A server like this at Amazon, a refurbished server is about $1,500. But you need a server. It's good to have a server in your house anyway. So what did I do? I went and bought more of these servers than you could possibly imagine. I started seeing what was going on in the Cloud Architect community about a year ago. I saw what those certification providers were putting out there, and I knew nobody would be getting hired with that, and it upset me so great. I was so upset after I saw what those course providers were doing that I wrote a book and gave it away for free, started all these free certification courses, and truthfully, that's why we do all of our free certification courses, to protect people from just the name of the service and how to configure it. So get some work experience. You can get it with us. You can get it on your own by buying a server. But what do hiring managers care about? They care about your knowledge of the network and the data center. No one cares if you can set up an S3 bucket. No one. But here's the thing that matters. How do you take the stuff from that network and the data center and move it to the cloud? Which, if you don't know the network and the data center, you don't know the stuff. And you can't bring it to the cloud. And that's why nobody cares about the certification without the network and the data center experience. So you don't have to have a job to get experience at all. It's quite simply, buy a server and do all the labs that we do with our students. Or take our course and you'll have something that you can show hiring managers. But you have to get it. And the hands-on training of configuring S3 bucket and EC2 instance doesn't matter, because anybody can do it. It's so simple, 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 simple. But what's not simple is showing you know how to do this. So Tulupe, it's not showing as much experience. It's showing that you've done some things. It's showing how you can assist an organization. It's showing how you can do digital transformation, how you can take inputs and put out of it. It's looking through your past experience. We do one-on-one consults for people that we can do that with you too, which you can purchase, but that costs almost as much as our whole course, where we do it all free, included in the bundled price. But make sure, if it's not us, that you get a real working cloud architect that has at least 10 years experience or a leadership experience that can help tune your resume, that knows exactly what needs to be on there, that shows, for example, the system that you designed and how that affected performance. And Tulupe, if you don't have any cloud architect experience, that's okay. What was your last job? Were you in a customer service environment, which is a lot of what we do? Did you increase customer success by XYZ%? Did you reduce trouble tickets by whatever? Did you increase sales by whatever because of a presentation? What did you do that looks like an architect? What did you do that helped another business? These are the things we do with our students to help them get hired. So, and these are the things that mattered. For example, I used to practice medicine, and I became an architect. And I remember on my first interview, when the hiring manager says, practicing medicine? Networking? How are they related? And I said, well, Devendra, I said, here's the way I see it. I said, in medicine, I start by asking the client questions. What do you want? Well, in this case, I said, what's bothering you? What brings you in today? I said, then what do? I examine their current systems, I make a diagnosis, and I build a plan. I said, the vendor is a network engineer, network architect. Aren't I going to go to the customer and ask them what they want? He says, yes. I said, I have really good abilities to ask questions because I'm used to asking patients questions in medicine. The vendor said, that's a good idea. I said, so I'm going to ask the questions. I said, and then am I going to look at their network diagrams, maybe baseline the current systems? And he says, yes. I said, and from there, I'm going to make a diagnosis in my mind. And he said, yes. And then I'm going to build a plan. I said, do you know anybody that's got better training in building plans than medical professionals? And he says, no. I said, so I've already been a network engineer and a network architect. I got hired on that job that day, but I was able to show the parallel. If I couldn't show that, asking questions was helpful somewhere else, then I was a medical professional and a tech professional. So draw the conclusions. That's half of what you do. You have to be able to go through your old resume, your old job, your old life, and show the hiring manager how it pertains to your new life. And when you can do that, and you can do that successfully, and you communicate that to the hiring manager, that hiring manager knows instantly you know what you're doing. So that's what I do. It's worked for my students constantly. And you could do that on your own. You could do that with us. But make sure if you're on your own, you find someone that's been a cloud architect, has a manager or director title, ideally director or above, because you want someone to know what hiring managers are working for. You want to go to the people that are telling the hiring managers what they're looking for, which is really the CIO. That's the best person to start with. Hello, sir. You're working as a DevOps engineer. Will cloud architect be a good career transition? Well, I'm not sure. What do you like, Potter? Mr. Potter, and here's the reason I say this. For me, when I left engineering and went into architecture, it was the greatest thing I ever did. I was an engineer and I was sitting behind a desk, I was working really hard. And then I became an architect and it was like, wait, I no longer sit behind the desk. Somebody's paying me twice as much money to go buy lunches, dinners, and drinks. And I went from working really hard as one of those first CCIEs to becoming an architect and buying lunch and buying dinner and buying drinks and traveling and talking and writing documents, becoming an industry-wide thought leader. And for me, it was the best thing that ever happened. I actually went from working for half the money to pretty much traveling the world and giving speeches for more than double the money. It was the best thing that ever happened to me, but that was me. But I love giving presentations. I love to write. I love speaking to CEOs, finding out the business, and then doing some business calculations and helping to transform the business. But I'm a half management consultant, half architect. It's the same job. So if you like that kind of thing, this will be the best thing you've ever done in the world. If you're tired of sitting behind the desk, if you're tired of not working hard and not getting respect, this is the best job in the world. If you like to write, present, this is an amazing, amazing job. But if you don't like to give presentations, then this is not a good job. If you don't like to write, this is not a good job. If you enjoy deep engineering, that hardcore, staring at the computer screen all day, you're not going to be happy as an architect because we're not very technical. I mean, I'm very technical. I was one of the original CCIEs, and I have 10,000 hours of just BGP experience and another 10,000 in IP multicast experience. I've got a lot of tech. But once I transitioned to an architecture job versus engineering job, I'm not touching the tech anymore, ever. I'm meeting with the executive team. I'm meeting with the leadership. I'm meeting with the engineering team, and I'm going to design stuff. And when something has to be built, my engineers are going to go build it. And when there's a proof of concept, I might bring 50 cloud engineers to proof of concept, but I just designed. So for me, I like it, but I like leading teams. I like writing. I like presenting. So it's up to you. If you like deep hands-on tech, that's not architecture. That's 100% engineering. If you like the business side of the tech, the leadership, the business transformation, and you're looking for something that could take you to the CTO or CIO, that's your architect job. I love the architect job. I've had it now for 20 years since I left engineering. It's the best thing I ever did. But engineering is critical. See, a cloud architect like me designs it. If there's no cloud engineer, there's no one to build it. So think about it this way. Building architect designs the big, tall, pretty building that withstands the 1,000-mile-an-hour, withstands winds and what have you, whatever, hurricanes, earthquakes. We design it, but we don't build it. There's a construction crew. And not only do we design it, after the building architect designs it, they still go to some structural engineers to make sure it's not going to fall over. We architects by nature have to be high-level, big-picture people. So We're going to be working with engineers. We're going to be leading the engineers, and they're going to help make sure our stuff works. So cloud engineers, really, really critical. DevOps engineers, really, really awesome people. Cloud architect, best job in the world if you like that kind of thing. And I love that kind of thing. My students love that kind of thing, and my graduates love that kind of thing. It's the best job ever. But if you want to be hands-on engineering, then it's not their job for you. So just wanted to make sure you knew what it was. Mad over cloud. Currently working on AWS fundamentals, good, and preparing for CCNA. Have changed your OS to Linux, excellent. You'll join our program in March. In the last section, you said your students can do an internship for it. We can elaborate on that. Certain students, when they're in our program, desire to do more. And if the students are special, meaning they're doing all their work and their work is being completed well, they show up to classes, they actively participate in classes with their webcams on, and then some of them say, I'd like to do some kind of an internship, so I've got something on the resume. We work hard to find that. Sometimes we find people that actually set up our data centers and work in our data centers and work with our clouds, because we, of course, run an OpenStack Ansible cloud here, and we have to have a cloud for our students to come in, so we have people that do that sometimes. Sometimes we co-author things with people. Sometimes we co-present with people, or whatever we can do to build their brands. So we offer our students a tremendous amount of opportunities to build their profile. If they're doing the work, they're showing up on time, they're working with others, and they're doing everything right, because we don't want an internship to be a distraction from the program. So we use that as a reward for our people that are doing good jobs. Okay, Chris, if you want to bring in the next question, you're having a good time, hit the like, comment, subscribe, that kind of thing. I'm learning how to be Mr. YouTube. It's not me by nature, but I love that we can actually communicate to others. Mr. Businessman, is being an engineer first a good prerequisite for being an architect, or are there other roles that you should hold before becoming an architect to help them be a better architect? Well, Mr. Businessman, here's the way I want to try and explain this. If you learned how to be a flight attendant, does that make you a better airplane pilot? And if you decided to be a firefighter, does that help you when it comes to designing cloud solutions? So no. So there are a lot of people that want people to be an engineer first. Now, I got to tell you this, Mr. Businessman, many of my people that are engineers, and I've had some people that have come through my program as cloud engineers. And let me tell you, they're very capable cloud engineers. Until they listen to me on this one thing, they are the hardest people to get hired. So the engineering position can help you or hurt you. Here's when the engineering position hurts you. I have a lot of engineers that were cloud engineers that have a bunch of silly certifications on their resume, and they want to talk about their Python, and they want to talk about their Terraform and their cloud formation and all this other stuff. And that's what they've got on their resume. They're a cloud engineer. And then they want to go be an architect, and all they have is 1,000,001 certifications and a whole bunch of hands-on thing. And there's no transformation, zero. There's no presentations. There's no leadership. There's nothing to give the person executive presence. There's no training. There's no teamwork. There's no transformation. So when you see this, it's kind of like, yes, I want to be a pilot, so I'm going to learn how to hand out drinks and keep people in their seats like a flight attendant. So no, being an engineer isn't that necessarily a great thing. So are there other roles? If you want to be an architect, train to be an architect. If you want to be a gymnast, train gymnastics. Don't train swimming, martial arts, jiu-jitsu. Train gymnastics. So if you want to be an architect, Mr. Business, train to be an architect. Now, there are certain careers that if you had them in the past are really simple. So I've worked in medicine, a doctor and medicine is pretty much the same job. Here's why. Doctor, how's the patient? What brings you in today? Tell me what makes it better, what makes it worse. Let me evaluate your systems, make a diagnosis and a plan. Architect. Mr. Customer, tell me about your business. What are your business goals, pain points, challenges? Can I base on your system? Okay, here's my diagnosis. Here's your plan. It's an architecture. Management consultant. Mr. Executive, could you tell me about your business goals, your business pain points, what your competitors are doing? Okay, I've got a solution for you. The solution involves a process redesign. Is that any different than a new cloud technology which re-affects the way people work? Not at all. So there are a lot of jobs that are consultative in nature that are more like architecture roles. The architect would be a cross between a sales executive and, for example, and an engineer. So does an engineer help? Yes, in a lot of ways it helps, but it's also teaching you the different kind of thinking, which is heartful. Whereas, learning medicine or management consultant or law, it would be much more related to what the architect does, but it's not technical. So Mr. Businessman, here's the thing. If you want to be a cloud architect, just go be a cloud architect. There's no background that you can't come from. Whether it's my young students that are still in school, that are working and serving food, that have been hired, but you got to remember, why are they getting hired? It's not because anybody cares about their background. They're getting hired because they're so energetic, they're so motivated, they're so enthusiastic, they work so hard to develop the competency. They're likable, and the manager sees them as a great team player and willing to go above and beyond. That's why people are getting hired. So it's not your old job that gets you your new job. It's your preparation for your new job. So the reason I gave you this long-winded answer is people ask me every day, should I do this? Should I study DevOps? Well, DevOps has nothing to do with design. So don't study DevOps if you want to do design. If you want to learn design, learn design. So Mr. Businessman, just go out there and get it. You can do it. My students do it every day. It doesn't matter. When I went from medicine to architecture, it was one switch. Why? Because I studied for the job that I wanted. So prepare for the career you want, exactly the career you want. If you want to be a lawyer, don't go to medical school. If you want to be an architect, go out there and be an architect. Don't try and get another job first. You can always get another job if for some reason you can't, but why not start where you want to be if you can? Shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and that's our philosophy to everything. So hope I answered your question there. I really want to very well. Chris, if you want to bring in the next questions, for those of you that are here, ask some questions, subscribe, hit the bell, that kind of thing. Let's see, routine maintenance. Hi, Mike. How are boot camps different than the career development program? Do your students take the AWS SAP directly or start with the SAA and SAP? Routine maintenance, our boot camps and our career development program aren't even related. So here's the thing. Our Cloud Architect Career Development Program is about how to become a cloud architect and how to get hired, building your resume, your interview profile, teaching you system design, and teaching you how to cloud architect. Now, when we do our boot camps, they're certification boot camps. But see, here's the thing. I know that those other things that you can buy on Udemy or those other courses where basically it's somebody that never worked in the career, they bought themselves a $20 webcam and poof, now there's their course. I don't want any of you to get that. And the reason I don't want any of you to get that is they're so unrelated to the job we do. I don't want to waste your time. So I do free boot camps so you can actually get access to real certification training. The kind that you would get if you paid Amazon for in-person training. If you went to Global Knowledge, they would charge you $5,000 for a week of just good quality certification training. They'll charge $5,000 for a CCNA bootcamp. So I do them for you guys, specifically as a favor for the industry. It's a good $5,000 to get a good certification program, at least. In fact, I'll tell you, when I did it routine maintenance, when I did my MCSC and it was Windows NT 4.0, I paid $5,000 for the week. And then I locked myself in a room and did a CCNA bootcamp, and I took a 10-day, $11,000 in 1997 or 8, I don't remember, it might be 99, I don't know, it was back then, a CCNP bootcamp, 10 days and $11,000. I spent $20,000 in basically 1 month on certifications. So I do these boot camps so you get access to a Global Knowledge or an Amazon or a Cisco kind of training program. How do I know it's that good? Because I used to train systems engineers when I was at Cisco. I was one of the engineers that was part of teaching people service-oriented architecture. So I was training people at Cisco. I was training people at Riverstone, which is now Nokia. I've been training engineers for 25 years at the world's biggest cable companies, internet service providers, hospitals, and even companies like Cisco. So when I make a course, I do this kind of stuff at Cisco too. So when I run a course, it is that $5,000 course for the week. I just do it for free. So routine maintenance, when we do boot camps, it's basically providing a free certification course. And since we're not exactly overly concerned about certification, we do provide a much more architecture focus to it. So we give you enough to be able to get the certification, and we bias ours towards more cloud architects. But remember, it's a certification course. And in the certification course, I have to tell you, if you want high availability due to availability zones, then that gets you to 99.99%. In reality, I would never design a network or cloud solution on just using 2 availability zones, because that's a single point of failure. I would use 1 availability zone in Azure and 1 in AWS. Or better yet, if I had real high availability needs, I'd use 2 availability zones in Azure and 2 availability zones on AWS, and I'd have my own data center. And that data center would be running a Nutanix cloud or an OpenStack cloud. So in our cloud architect career development program, we teach people how to become cloud architects, and we get them hired. And we teach them all the architecture skills. When we do a certification class, it's just that, it's certification. And why do we even bother with certification? Here's the reason. Certification does not get anyone hired, but it does one amazing, miraculous thing. It gets you an interview. So we use focused certifications, specific, the minimum number to get that person the elite interview. And then we make sure that person is so good and so competent and so likable, and that they're 10 times or 100 times better than any other cloud architect, they get hired. That's what we do. So we draw a difference between certification training. In fact, Chris from my team, if you can put the video in the box that shows why certification training will not get you hired, and then you'll know. But still, certification training gets you the interview. And I know that our free certification bootcamp will get some people hired, because we provide a much different view of it. And I want you to get the best. And I know that none of you or me could ever really benefit from some kind of course on Udemy that's just videos where we can't ask questions. I mean, because what happens is you see stuff you don't know, you don't understand it, you get bored and you can't ask a question. And I know that if I run a boot camp and I run it, I do 20 minutes of lecture and 10 minutes of questions, you're all out there and you're going to not have any answers in your mind, and you're going to learn something by the end. So that's why we do it. But certification is not enough. Our program was initially designed to take people that were certified and get them hired. But you know what we found, routine maintenance? When people have done those other certification programs and even come to us with a certified solution architect professional, they still know absolutely nothing of system design, and we have to start them from the beginning anyway. So our program is about getting you hired as a cloud architect. Getting you hired and getting you certified are 2 very different goals. Broderick, hi Mike, you're awesome. Thanks so much, Broderick. I'm so happy just to see you here. I love when you guys come to my channel. My team and I work so hard to try and work with you. Stay blessed. Thank you so much. I'm just so grateful to have you here. I love this cloud architect community and all of you. And when you come here all the time and we get to speak, it's so nice. Pawan, it's just so nice to see you here today. John Clark, you have heard a lot about digital transformation. You do have some idea, what is it? Okay, John Clark, that's a really great question. So for architects, our job is to transform a business. So let's think about it this way. Let's say right now we walk into a business and it's a Greek restaurant owned by my family. My family is Greek immigrants that came to America. We all opened a little Greek diner after being here for a little while, and we had a little restaurant in Philadelphia, and it was a great, happy place. Anyway, the whole family worked there. Even those of us that were practicing medicine, to get done a shift, and we were still helping being a cashier if somebody called out. So I love the business. Now, that business itself had a cash register with buttons that people pushed that were manual. It had things that people would write down on, and there wasn't a computer in the entire facility, and it ran smooth. But what would happen is, when my father or father-in-law wasn't there and somebody else was there and somebody else was there and it would get busy, stuff would get lost. So digital transformation would be about improving the business through technology. So it could be, a reservation system. It could be a system that automatically would detect the number of people that are in the business and would bring in an extra chef and a waiter or waitress. It could be any kind of technology that improves the business. So that's what we're talking about with digital transformation. So let's think about what happens. If tomorrow, John, there was a law that raised the wage in the US by $10 an hour, CEOs would be calling cloud architects like us within 15 minutes, and they'd say, please tell me how to automate so I can reduce my staff. Because the business will say, I have a new expense, and they're going to look for the architects like us to basically find a way to do it. Let's say, for example, John, I've got a company in Philadelphia, PA, and they make Swiss furniture, and we could set up some direct lines of communications between factories in Switzerland, and all the factories in Switzerland knew how to get everybody's parts and could get us parts better, faster, and cheaper by working together. That would be transformation about the business. So realistically speaking, John, it's anytime we can impact the business. If we make a new website for a business, that can impact sales. If, for example, we improve communication and collaboration between the research and development people and the production people, we might be able to make products faster. If we've got a supply chain, John, and we're trying to build a car, but we can't get car parts, our car's not going to be built on time. But if we have better technology that could make sure that our parts arrived on time, that could make a massive difference. If we're trying to design a drug for a drug company, John, we could do 1,001 trials, or we could do some simulations in a lab, test it to get relatively certain before we did it. So these are the kind of things that we're actually talking about. We are the people that ask the customer about their business and then figure out what those challenges are. And then we think of the technology that will solve those problems. And I'm going to tell you right now, most of that tech is not covered in certification. You could be talking about RFID tagging to locate stuff, for example, Internet of Things sensors that are out there, streaming data, which we're going to make better decisions with, et cetera, et cetera. 90% of that stuff is not covered in the certification, but that's what we do as architects. I mean, realistically speaking, in your life as a cloud architect, even the AWS stuff they talk about, like DynamoDB and WAF, you may never use that stuff for your whole life. And here's the reason. If you're going to do multi-cloud, you're going to need a database that works on multiple cloud providers like MongoDB, for example. You're not going to be using DynamoDB or Cosmos or Cloud Big Table. They lock you into a certain customer and they reduce that transformation we're talking about. So because customers need open standards. So transformation is about anytime you make your customers business. So everything you need to do, you need to think about it. If I take them from the data center where they already paid for it and move them to the cloud, now they have to pay per use. Is that good for the business or bad for the business? In the data center, we have better performance, but it costs more. So is it better to be on the cloud? What is the one thing that we can do on the cloud better than the data center, like auto-scaling web? So for architects, it's really about how do you improve the customer's business? So John Clark, what's necessary for that? The knowledge of business. Can't do it if you don't know business. And that's not covered in solution architect training. That's why we have a career development program. Or you can take an MBA, one of the two. We're going to be doing presentations because we're going to have to present lots of things to the customer. So again, it's about presentations. It's about doing an ROI model to show the customer that the $1 billion they're going to buy on the technology is more than mitigated by the $3 billion of increased sales. So we have to calculate the expected value of an opportunity, do an ROI model, and show the customer the benefits we're going to give them. Then we might want to run focus groups with customers to try and find out what they want. We might have to design new workflows. We have to give presentations. So that's the kind of stuff that we do. And let me tell you, John, digital transformation is amazing. I've worked with organizations doing this for 25 years. I brought video over to and TV to the homes and places that never had it before. I brought voice communication to villages that never had it before. I set up HD communication between people all over the world 20 years ago before people thought of it, and it transformed lives. People on an oil field were able to speak to people in Texas in real time. It's just amazing. And everything is over time. So as the technology changes, the more transformation we can do. And as architects, whether a cloud architect, solution architect, enterprise architect, even a business architect, our whole world is making the world better. VNHG, as cloud architects, will specializing in something? Yes. So specializing in cloud security? Absolutely. Specializing in machine learning? Probably not. I probably wouldn't do that. Now, I love machine learning, but I don't see the reason to do machine learning unless you are somebody else special. So if you're a data scientist that can look at the data coming in and then figuring out how to use the data, and maybe machine learning is a tool for this person. And then if that data scientist is not just a regular data scientist that can do the analysis, but a data scientist that can take that analysis and present it to C-level executives, ooh, that's a great skill. So specializing in cloud security, cloud infrastructure, cloud big network, cloud data, yes, do it, VNHG. There's a reason a family practitioner earns less than a neurosurgeon. Specialists are always paid more. VNHG, I'm a specialist. Completely. I'm a network specialist. My CCIE number is 7417. I have 10,000 hours on BGP and 10,000 hours on PIM. That's my world. So you know what? People consult me. I get things, Mike, would you be the enterprise architect that coordinates the whole strategy all the time? Yes, I love that. But if it's going to be on the cloud, I'm going to focus on the network piece. That's my value. I can charge $600 an hour doing cloud networking consulting and $400 an hour being a cloud architect. I'm going to charge $600 an hour every day because that's $5,000 a day. And it's only $3,200 a day to do standard cloud architect consulting. Why not go for the specialty? I do. I always focus on a specialty. I tell people, don't get 10x AWS certified for this reason. You need to know something. And when I did my CCIE, it was 75,000 pages of reading. And in the course of my networking career, I read another 100 to 200,000 pages of just networking, whether it was RFCs, new networking things. So I read a good 300,000 pages of networking in my career. That's networking. That's deep. So yes, go out there and get a CISSP and learn security and learn the cloud and be a cloud security architect. Yes, be a cloud network architect. Be a cloud big data architect. Yes. You'll be in great shape. Please do so, BNHG. Pawan Kumar, this is Pawan for the UK. Fortunate to join virtually every session the last few weeks. Thank you so much, Mike and Chris caught hard. Pawan, it's been wonderful watching you join us from the UK. I've been so happy to have you on our program and all these great things. So thank you so much. Jeep, what is the scope of work as a consultant or contractor in AWS architect arena to earn like business? Okay, so Jeep, I'm not 100% sure that I completely understand your question. So I'm going to take some guesses here. So the scope of work as a consultant is whatever you make it to be. You write the scope of work when you deal with a client. How hard is it to get business? For someone like me, it's nothing. So here's the thing. If you've been an architect for a while or a management consultant, you're going to have C-level contacts all over the world. So, if I wanted to get out my phone and start calling CEOs of the big cloud providers and CEOs at big banks and CEOs of big global retailers and CEOs at hospitals I've interacted with for the years, it'd be pretty easy for me to get consulting, but I have that list of contacts. So, what I tell everybody is start by getting a job working for someone for a couple of years. During those couple of years, write publications, write thought leadership documents, go consult, go meet lots of people, build relationships with these people, take them to dinner, take them to drinks, really get to know people, attend every conference, collect people like crazy. And when you have that network of a few thousand people and a few hundred CXO level executives, then it's easy to earn business. But if you don't have any contacts, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be very challenging. So you've got to get a credible expert. See, here's the thing. A good architect can go into a business and create billions of dollars of value for them. But that's an architect that knows what they're doing. So you generally have to prove yourself at a big company or a management consultant firm first. So if you worked at a bank, yeah. You worked at a global retailer, sure. You worked at an Accenture, wow. Or Bearing Point, yeah. You worked for a cloud provider, that's great too. So yeah, definitely. But during that time, perfect your sales, because you're going to be having to close a lot of business. But I love it, Jeet. And people ask me to do cloud consulting every single day, and I turn it down now. At some point soon, I'm probably going to just hire my students to do it because I have some of the most amazing students in the world. We have the best cloud architects anywhere. My students are incredible. But yeah, there's a lot of it out there. The key is, but you have to have the context to get it. But the scope of work is whatever you want it to be. You write the scope of work. So, who do you have on your team? Do you have a team of cloud engineers to go build it? Do you have DevOps people to automate things? Do you have maintenance people to be an outsourced NOC? It's up to you. It's based upon the capabilities of your business. But in order to get the business, you've got to have a contact list. So make sure you have it. Chris, if you want to bring in the next question. Anybody that's got questions, please ask them because we love answering them. Let me see the question. Let me see this question. Felix. For someone that wants to focus cloud security, is the CCNA necessary? Absolutely not, Felix. For someone that wants to focus on cloud security, focus on security. CISSP, CCSP among the certifications. But, that's just certifications. Learn a lot about IAM, learn a lot about firewalls, learn a lot about IDS, IPS systems, learn a lot about VPN concentrators, learn a lot about writing security policies, designing security architectures, training people against social engineering and phishing and those kind of things. Really learn end-to-end security and all the event-driven security, the next generation security. And no, you'll do great, Felix, especially you. If you're the Felix I think you are, you actually have a law background. So you're going to be meticulous and solid with your security designs. And you're going to present them step after step after step. And people are going to love that. So no, just focus on cloud security. And that's the thing, Felix. When I try and say, don't study someone else's career, networking is always helpful, but you don't need it. If you want to be security, focus on security, 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 and add the cloud. And you're a cloud security person. And I love cloud security, Felix. As let's face it, there are more security things that you will find every day on the cloud. It's astronomical. You should have seen the S3 bug that came out the other day. That was really, really scary on Amazon. But all the cloud providers had it. Azure was hacked and thousands of their customers' database information was stolen. It's just part of life. We're online, there's tech. The more stuff we bring online, the more places that can be hacked and the more hacking that's going to occur. So Felix, if you want to focus on security, you don't need to do the CCNA. Focus on the security. And I think, by the way, that is a really, really, really great place to be. And then if you've got more questions, please bring them in. Farhan Naz, can you work for US companies not present there without an H-1B or sponsorship? So US companies can hire you in any part of the world without an H-1B or sponsorship. And companies do hire people from all across the world all the time. I like to use the story of, because it was the most ridiculous one, I get asked to support countries all over the world. For example, recently I was asked to support a client in Japan. And I thought, sure. And then they said, it's during Japanese hours. And I'm like, no way. So I called my buddy Raj in Bangalore. And I said, hey, Raj, are you interested? And he's like, I'm doing something else. But the point is they were fine with me calling somebody in India to get the job that they were offering me in Palm Beach, Florida. So there's really no reason. It doesn't matter. Now, working in the US is different, because if you want to work in the US, then you need sponsorship, a green card or something. But working outside the US, now you're not a US employee. That's never an issue. These global multinational companies hire people from all over the world. Now, will they pay them quite a US salary? Probably not. But it's still a big enough and a good enough salary that you'll be more than financially happy, and your whole family will, and you'll be thrilled anyway. So yes, you can work for US companies, UK companies, and all kinds of companies all over Europe and many parts of the world as well. So absolutely, absolutely, Farha. So I was going to say, make sure you get your free copy of the Certified Solution Architect Professional Exam Guide. The link is in the description below. Chris has been popping in here all the time. Make sure, a couple of things that you, Chris, make sure we put up the banner. I want everybody to attend our How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar the next time we have it. I also want to make sure that everybody knows how to find the free AWS Certified Solution Architect Live Bootcamp. Please make sure that everybody knows in the description below that we have we're going to have a Cisco thing coming up. So make sure you know in the description of this video and many of our videos, we have a tremendous amount of things. But on Thursday, we're going to have our free and live How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. You'll be able to answer well, let's just say we're going to make it a great time. You'll know what hiring managers want. You'll know what hiring managers need to hear on an interview question. You'll know exactly what a cloud architect is, exactly what the customers are telling you they want to hire. And of course, we'll tell you how to treat up your resume and everything you need to do to get your first cloud architect job. And it's completely free, and it'll be on Zoom. So you'll be able to come, ask us questions. We'll answer your questions. We'll do anything we can to help build you your best cloud architect career. And we'll do that completely free. So come and join us and ask us these questions. So Chris, if you want to bring in the next question. EWB_4BD, how is your program truly agnostic? So you want to learn cloud fundamentals first to provider spec. Well,
there's an updated version of that one. It got cut off.
Okay, great question. Prior to being biased by AWS, Azure, GCP, or OCP services. So EWB underscore AB4D, we don't ever go to the silly names of these services. We always teach the tech. So when we design an architecture, we design it like architects. So if there's a 3-tier website, what do you need in a 3-tier website? EWB underscore 4AB4D. If you've got more than one web server, you will always need a load balancer, because a load balancer is used to improve performance and availability and load share. So you'll always need a load balancer. Now, EWB underscore AB4D, is that going to be a network load balancer or an application load balancer? Well, let's examine. If we've got 10 massive servers, say that each server has 128 cores and 4 terabytes of DRAM, we're going to need a big fast load balancer like a network load balancer, and it's going to be the same on any cloud. If we've got a couple of small 2-core servers, we're going to use an application load balancer because it's going to be more intelligent and it's cheaper. So in any case, we're always going to do that. Now, EWB A4BD, that's what we've done. We've now done our load balancer web server architecture. Now next, we need app servers. And if we're going to have more than one, guess what? We need a load balancer. So we're going to make the same determination, application load balancer, network load balancer. And then after that, we're going to say, let's say we need a database. So we'll have the network load balancer, we'll have multiple app servers, and then we'll have a database. Now, is it a relational database or a NoSQL database? If it's a relational database, okay, we'll use a relational database. Any of them. Say MySQL, Oracle, we'll figure that out later, but we'll use a relational database. Now, relational databases, how do we make that scale? Well, we need read replicas for read traffic. We need caching to reduce the load on the read replicas, and we probably need some queuing. So EWB underscore AB4D. I have yet to mention any names of any services. And this is how we design our architecture. So that's what we do. Now EWB underscore AB4D, now because we're using standard services and we have our whole architecture designed for this website, minus the internet router connecting to the internet and the firewalls and things, but we could talk about that later, but if you want. But now it's just a matter of going to the store. If I go to the Azure store, I look in their store and I say, what does Azure call a network load balancer? And they call it an Azure load balancer. Okay, so I select that from the store. Now, if I wanted to do my design on AWS, I would go to the AWS store and say, hey, they call it an elastic load balancer, network load balancer. Or if I wanted to go to Google, I would take my design and then I would go to Google site or just search Google virtual machine, and I would find the Google Net load balancer that meets it, and they call it a cloud load balancer. It's the same load balancer. I just got it from the store. But guess what? If it was in the data center, EWB underscore 4A4BD, I'd call F5 that makes a physical load balancer that's a device. Same thing. The same architecture in every data center and every cloud. For the virtual machine, I would say I need a virtual machine that's got 128 cores and 4 terabytes. So I'd go to the store, I'd do a quick Google search, and I'd see it's an M128S V2 on Azure, or I would see that it's an X1E.32XLG on AWS. Why? The only reason I know this is I've been to their store and I've spec'd these out in the past, but that's what I would do. So the key is we never go to the cloud vendor. Now, when it comes to a relational database, do you think we're going to use AWS Aurora? Absolutely not. Why? Because we're always going to do a multi-cloud architecture, and Amazon Aurora is serverless, and we can't use that. So we'll probably use an Oracle database that works on all the clouds, or MySQL or Postgres. We're always going to be using all of this. So that's how we're cloud agnostic, because we teach you how to design it the way the customers works. When it comes to firewalls, nobody's going to be using AWS WAF. If their security matters, they're going to be getting a firewall from Cisco or Palo Alto or Fortinet. And if they need more than one, they're going to need a load balancer. So our architectures aren't even related to the certifications. So we design the architectures the way they would work on any and all clouds. And that way you can use more than one cloud for true high availability. And that way you can design it in a way that your customers matter. Because your customer doesn't want to hear AWS S3. They want to hear object storage. They want to know what you're doing with the metadata and how you're integrating into the environments. They don't care about the name. They care about what it works. And that's why people can't even get hired on interviews, because they're trying to explain stuff and they're just spewing off jargon. S3, EC2, EBS, EFS. The customers don't think about that. Customers think of storage. When do you use block storage, and why and how and what purpose? When are you using file storage? What, how, and what purpose? And the file storage is always going to be NFS. Regardless if AWS wants to rename NFS EFS, we're still going to be talking about NFS because that's what it is. So kind of keep that in mind. That's how we go cloud agnostic, and that's how we design high availability multi-cloud systems, and they always work out great. that way because we're vendor agnostic and always have to be. Ronald McRae, Cloud Hired. I'm so happy to see you, Ronald. I haven't seen you in a week or so. I know you were taking care of a lot of important things, so I hope that went real well for you. And I'm so happy to see you, Ronald. John Clark. Hey, Mike, cool for crushing the ice. That's my favorite. When I had good teeth, I understand that. Do you mind divulging a good practice test website? Well, I will say this. I will say that my friend Haman Sharma runs Review and Prep, and he has very good test websites. I will also tell you that Andrew Brown has some very good free certification training, and he also has some practice tests that I absolutely like. Now, both of those are honest practice tests that we enjoy very much. We avoid any of the there's certain others that we typically don't talk about, but we do like those two. So those two we can recommend. If you're asking for the ones that are exact copies of the exam, they are things that we know about. We've heard them from clients over the years. We don't talk about that because we are trying to make sure people get hired. And the reality is if somebody buys one of these practice tests and gets caught, they can literally be fired. Their certifications will be stripped away, and we can't be associated with that because we've got hundreds and thousands of students all over the world that rely on us to provide them good content and get them hired. So I will say that Review and Prep is fantastic. I really do like theirs, and I will tell you that Andrew Brown has some very, very good certification practice exams on his website. I like both of them very much. Andrew Brown is a person I like and respect, and he also does free certification training, and he makes people pay for the practice test, so I can recommend those. I'm very fine with those two. Lewis 2, what should someone expect from a principal network security architecture interview from on-prem and cloud? Well, it depends where it's going to be at. But typically, if it's at a provider, somebody that's going to do some consulting, I would expect you to definitely have to do a presentation. I would expect some of it to get pretty serious. They might be asking you about how the firewall works and talking about stateful practice inspection at some point. They might want to ask you about zero trust kind of things because I would. They would talk about, for example, they might ask you how next generation firewalls work. I would. They might talk an end-to-end security thing. They might ask you about a security policy. They might ask you about some crazy things that you've done in the past. They might ask you to get creative. For example, are you doing anything with logging? Are you taking logging into anything like Kafka, or then running into machine learning on the logging and then visualizing in a tool like Tabula? That's kind of cool these days. They might ask you about event-driven security, about taking things from like let's say like a CloudWatch log or EventBridge log, and then kicking off like a Lambda function. And that can be done on any cloud provider, including your own cloud, like a Nutanix cloud or an OpenStack cloud. That kind of stuff is beginning there, which we find very, very important. They might ask you, I might even ask you some IP questions just to see your networking. And I would probably, although most wouldn't, I would be asking you about routing, and here's why. Are you familiar with, how do you limit routes? Because if you don't have a route to something, you can't hack it. So I might be questioning about, your knowledge of packet filtering, ACLs on routers, but also, but using distribute lists and route maps on routers to block out certain routes that you don't want to be transferred, and knowing when you can filter a route with like an interior gateway protocol versus an exterior gateway protocol. It depends there. You might also need to talk a little bit about concealing IP addresses, how it matters. They might ask you about, what your experience is with penetration testing and what your knowledge of operating system vulnerabilities is in end-to-end security. But really, it's going to be much more about the end-to-end piece. I would ask you about the things that you've designed. I would ask you about big problems that you've had to solve. I would also ask you to tell me what your view of security is and the pieces and parts that go into it, because I can find out about 3 minutes if somebody knows security, how they design it. If somebody tells me I start with perimeter security with a firewall, and behind the firewall I use I use an IDS IP system, and after that I use an access control list to protect the subnet, and after that I would use a security group, and after that I'll take a host and I'll disable all unnecessary services. I'll put a host-based firewall on it. I'll put some anti-malware stuff on it, or endpoint protection, etc., etc. I'll disable unnecessary services. I'll use this for IAM. I'll use this for logging. When I start hearing that, I know the person gets it. So it's a matter of being able to demonstrate that you know it. But I would expect a lot of presentations and lots of leadership questions, because in these roles, you're going to be doing one of two things. One is you're going to be parachuting in to try and solve problems for typically the other teams that exist, the other architect teams and the other engineering teams. So you're going to be doing that. But you're also going to be presenting at conferences constantly, like I did. You'll be presenting in front of 5,000 and 10,000 people on audiences constantly as an architect like this. And the world's going, you're going to be writing white papers in this job, and the world's going to be coming to you for leadership. So they might ask you about some documentation you did, presenting at conferences, your experience with pre and post sales. I would. So those are the kind of things that I would expect you to see, because those are the things that I would interview you, and most of the good recruiters that I know and hiring managers would ask you the same thing. Really great question you had there, Louis, too. So, and thank you so much for answering. Chris, if you want to bring in the next one. ET cloud hired, absolutely cloud hired. Mufaz, is jobs flexibility and cloud architect possible, like remote work? So Mufaz, remote work, definitely possible. Lots of flexibility. Now, you will generally have the flexibility to be able to do something an hour later or an hour earlier in a lot of cases. But, if people are going to ask me, is this a 20-hour-a-week job and can I just do this? The answer is it's not. This is a big, big job, Mufaz. A big job. And, there's the bottom of the barrel in this section that pays about 120. But as you move up into these architecture roles, if you focus on your leadership skills, your emotional intelligence, your business acumen, your business transformation, these roles can progress to $500,000 a year. So when the people are paying you well, they kind of have the expectation that if they call you, you're going to answer the phone. And that means during business hours, at night, or during the weekend. Now, will you get calls at night during the weekend? Not often. But the assumption is that if you get one and it's 2:00 in the morning, you pick up that phone, because it means a customer could be melting down somewhere in the world and they might need you. So, there's that. But I will tell you, Mufaz, when I went from engineering to architecture, I worked half the hours. When I went from engineering to architecture, I left my house in New Jersey, where I had to go to the office every day, and I moved to Palm Beach, Florida, where I didn't. In fact, I used to go run before I hurt my foot every day, and I used to run to the beach, back to the beach, and used to swim about a half a mile on the beach every single day, or a mile or more on the beach every day. So the answer is yes, there is flexibility, but don't expect people not to ask you to work. When they're paying you this well, they expect you to work. But if you need to take your kids somewhere, fine. Or if you need to go to the doctor's office, fine. If you need to go to the bank during the day, fine. You've got the time to do it. Just make sure you do the work afterwards. So it's flexible like that, but it's not flexible in saying I'm only working 8 hours a day. Some days you'll work 2 hours, some days you'll work 20. But all in all, it works out, and it's a great, great, great job. Chris, if you want to bring in the next one. Ghost, cloud hired. Precious, it's so good to see you, cloud hired. Ash K. Killet, which cloud architect is best? Oracle, GCP, AWS, Microsoft, Azure, and IBM. Okay, first, if anybody's got any questions, please pop them in, and we'd love to get back to you. So, Ash K, this is the one question that I get all the time, and I'm going to answer you this the same way. Don't learn any one of these. Learn the cloud. And here's the reason. If you just know one, you won't be employable in today's world. Today's world, as a customer, wants transformation. They want to go from their data center to the cloud. First, they're not going to do a single cloud. So if you just pick one cloud and you only learn one cloud, you'll be in trouble. You need to have more than one cloud. So don't learn any of these. Learn the cloud. So what is the cloud? It's the network and the data center. So what does that mean? It means you need to know BGP. It means you need to know OSPF. It needs to know IP addressing, IP subnetting, IP supernetting, route summarization, static routing, dynamic routing. It means you need to know VLANs and VLAN tagging and VLAN trunking and spanning tree and rapid spanning tree. It means you need to know QoS and things like 802.1x. It means that you need to, understand NAT, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAT. The use cases for NAT is in buying companies, selling companies, all that. You need to know encryption technology such as IPsec and HTTPS and SSL, because we make VPNs out of these things. You need to know private lines. What else do you need to know? You need to know servers and server virtualization, containers and container orchestration, things like Kubernetes and Docker. You need to know about load balancers, about firewalls, about VPN concentrators, about next generation firewalls and IDS IPS systems. You need to understand block storage, object storage, and file storage. And guess what? All this stuff is on every cloud. So by learning it this way, you know every cloud. Why do you think a CCI like me could get hired in a day without even having a cloud certification as any principal or distinguished role in any cloud provider? Because we've been designing this stuff for the last 25 years. Actually, some of it we called the cloud and some of it we didn't, but whatever, that's the point. So it doesn't matter. So then if you're now asking which cloud to learn, I'm telling you, learn the cloud. You don't learn to drive a Honda and then take special training to drive a Toyota and special training for the Ford, special training for the Chevy and something for Mercedes. You just learn how to drive one. So just one. So there's that. And now if you want to know which one to get certified on, I would pick AWS or Azure. And here's why. When you're looking for your first job, you're looking for as much marketability as possible. And AWS and Azure have the biggest percentage of market share. So if you want something that's generically available, focus on getting certified in the one. So I picked AWS, well, actually I picked Google for me, which was not the right one but the reason it was for me is it was because, I don't need any certifications. I could go to any cloud provider anywhere and get a job in a day. And the only reason I took the Google cloud certification was as follows. I wanted to prove that our AWS training was good. So when we wrote our first book on passing the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, I said that if the book was good, I was going to go read it, and I was going to go take a Google Professional Cloud Architect exam, and I did. Now, I did spend 2 days reading a Cybex book, but the point is I didn't use any practice exams because I didn't want to cheat. I wanted to see if I really, really knew it. So here's the thing. If you can read my AWS book and pass a Google exam, you can also pass an Azure exam and an Oracle exam all off of my free book. Why? Because I teach you what is the tech. I don't just say this is Amazon Aurora. I teach what is a relational database. I teach what is a NoSQL database, and I tell you the types that you can choose on AWS, as opposed to doing it the other way around. So the best cloud architect is a cloud architect that knows how to design across multiple clouds. A solution architect is only somebody that knows one cloud. So a solution architect is like a junior, less capable version of a cloud architect. So become a cloud architect, know how to design on any cloud, hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, all of it. You're employable, you're worth more, and you're so much better for your customers. Chris, if you want to bring in the next one. VNHG, what are the most common documents a cloud architect writes? Well, VNHG, when you're young and you're starting out your career, what you're going to be doing is writing architecture documents all day, every day. So you're going to meet with a client, you're going to come up with an idea, you're going to make a Visio document or a Lucidchart document or a Draw.io document, and then you're going to write up this 10 to 500 page document that's going to surround your architecture. Now, the reason I say 10 to 500 is the architectures that I work on are always about 500 pages. There's a 2-page one for the executives, a 20-page one for the management, and a 500 one for the engineers. So for me, it's always like that. Now, when you've got some experience VNHG like me, so for example, I was interviewed by 10 press media outlets last month. And this coming month in January, you'll see articles from us in 10 articles. So 10 different magazines asked me to write an article for them last month. So for example, I'm a cloud architect. I wrote basically 10 magazine articles that you're going to see in various magazines last month. So there's that. Now, as a rule of VNHG, I was forced at Cisco, which I love doing, and it's part of my life. As what I've done is I write thought leadership documents. And when I was at Cisco, I was asked once every quarter to write something that could change the industry. And I came up with something called the medical grade network. And you can see that architecture. It's on the internet. It's a few hundred pages. That's widely out there. So I did a lot of thought leadership. I would write documents on how a new technology can improve a nurse's or a doctor's life. I would write documents on how IP multicast video can transform things. I would write documents about how, testing technology systems can prevent life and death situations, because we had a hospital outage that had a 3-day tech outage, and people were, it's a disaster. But that's what happens when technology systems fail. So we talked about test labs. I wrote about mobile technologies, 20 years ago, and how that can improve the doctor and the patient relationship. So those kind of things. So architectures, thought leadership documents, constantly. And after a couple of years, like me, not only be writing thought leadership and writing papers that you're going to be submitting to conferences, but you're going to be talking to the press constantly. I spoke to the press almost 20 times last month, but 10 of the things are actually going to be out in January. So that's just kind of life. As an architect, the world's going to come to you for comments once they know you're out there and they know you as an expert. So lots of documents. And the good news about writing a document is you write this document, it can take a life. It's really funny. I wrote 2 documents in my career. One of the document I wrote was called Intro to Multicast. I wrote this document back in 2001. That document, realistically speaking, built my career. I wrote that document and I traveled 200,000 miles within the first year. And then I was designing video architectures. I then wrote another document called the Medical Grade Network at Cisco. And I was asked to speak at I think 20 conferences within the first month and about 100 within the first year. I then traveled to every country and continent you could possibly think of talking about medical grade and architectures. So those are the kind of things. So thought leadership pieces, news pieces, and of course your architectures, and why it's going to benefit your customers. So those are the kind of things. And the other thing you're going to be doing a lot of writing is, VNHG. When you're an architect, let's say you work at a Cisco. Somebody asked me to design this architecture. Now don't think for a second, one person like me with 25 years experience is going to design a big architecture. There's no way. So when people come to me with these architectures that have never been done before, the first thing I need to do via NHD is I need to go find resources, which means I need to go to about 10 managers and say, I need 2 people from your team. Now, when I take 2 people from my manager's team and they say yes to me, because I asked them politely and I wrote up a good justification, that manager's work is not being done. So then I need to go to that managers and their managers, maybe all the way to the CEO, to convince the CEO, I need to take these people from these managers. And oh, by the way, these managers won't be meeting on what you thought they needed to do because I'm going to be using your people. So there's a lot of business justification for that. And that's super, super, super important as well. So got to keep those in mind, and you should do very well. But those are the kind of documents we write. Thought leadership, press stuff, and transformation, success stories, that kind of thing. Lots of writing, and it's fun. Epic Gill, for the program Cloud Architect Career Development, do you need to be certified? Absolutely not. Eric Gill, even if you were certified, we would start you at absolute beginning, because we need you to know the cloud. And when people come and they're just AWS certified, if they don't know virtualization and they truly don't know how storage works, they won't ever be able to design anything. So no, we don't care what your background is. We're going to put you through our program. To let you know, to put it into context, we do have a certification component of our program. It's about 20 hours of our 500-hour program. So our program's 200 hours for people that have worked in tech before, and and 500 hours for people that have never worked in tech. Only 20 hours of that is the Certified Solution Architect Professional. And when we do the Certified Solution Architect Professional, we don't do it in multi-steps, Eric. We basically start from the absolute beginning, the history of the network in the data center and how it goes into the cloud. And then we build. We teach you how it works on all clouds, and then we cover the whole professional curriculum all in one thing. We follow it up with books and architecture lessons and classes. It doesn't matter if you're certified or not. We still have to teach you architecture because none of that is covered in certification. Eric Gill, if you want to work with us, we would love to work with you. And it's funny. People tell us they learn more in their first 3-hour class than they had in the previous year. And half of them had a half a dozen certifications. And that's why we have to start them in the beginning, because we need to know what you know. Everybody starts at a common foundation. Do you know what a master is, Eric Gill? I'm a martial arts guy. I've spent 20 years in martial arts. I also spent 20 years as an architect. And I'm going to tell you one thing. A great architect is a master of the fundamentals. And here's why. Eric, in every architecture I get asked, nobody's ever done it before. And it's all about thinking, is it possible? So I'm trying to think of, if this system is here, how will this system interact with this system, which will interact with the network, which will interact with this data plane, which is controlled by this control plane. I got to see the pieces and parts in my mind. And I got to know a lot. And you know what I'm going back to for this, Eric? It's the fundamentals. It's all fundamentals and mesh with fundamentals. As architects, it's all about how it works. We don't configure things, Eric. It's how we design. So for us, yeah, it doesn't matter if you passed it or not. And if you had it, we'd still start you from the beginning, because we need to know that you're great. So if you don't have it, great. You didn't spend any time on it. We can take you from day one. If you do have it, great. You don't have to get the certification anymore. Okay, but and we're still going to train you from the beginning, because we want you to be great. I want you cloud hard, and I want you paid well. I want you getting promoted, and I want you being successful in your job. I don't want to just sell you training and not be successful. There's no point in that. I want to get you hired. So that's why we do what we do. Chris, if you want to bring in the next one. As a cloud group, architect group, what's the largest group of professionals I presented in front of? Probably 10,000 people. It's pretty normal for me. I'm just getting there. So here's the secret, VNHG, when you're in front of a big group, you actually have to look, you have to divide the room in quarters, and you have to just look in each direction of the quarter so people can see that you're actually looking over at them. So presenting to a big group is no different than presenting to a small group. Once you're used to it, it's just an issue of maintaining the quadrants in the room so you can try and build a connection with people. And there's that kind of thing. But I tend to love it. So I like getting in front of big audiences. But then again, I'm always in front of a big audience. There's days where we do certification training and there's 5,000 people on it. We do our certification training free. And, we love that. It's just normal for us. Chris, if you want to bring in the next question. Mufaz, do you have to become a cloud architect before you can become a cloud architect, or vice versa? Mufaz, we train them together. Here's the thing. My cloud people that want to be cloud security architects, I train them as cloud security architects. I make them a cloud architect, and they learn security at the same time. If they can get a cloud security job as their first job, they get it. And if they have to take a solution architect job or a cloud architect as their first job, they do it. In either case, they get a great job as an architect. The question is it a specialist or a generalist? If you're good enough and your knowledge is deep enough and you present yourself well enough, might just get you your first job as a cloud security architect. But if not, and we fall back to cloud architect or solution architect, you're still covered. So we still consider that a success either way. As long as you get some kind of a cloud architect or solution architect job, by the end, we consider that to be a success. Could we get you a cloud security architect first? Probably. That might be your first job. But if it's not, still consider a cloud architect or a solution architect job to be a good success. And then a year or two later, move into security. But most cases, you can probably go straight into security first. Chris, if you want to bring in the next one. If you got questions, please ask them, like, comment, hit the bell, subscribe, tell others. We work hard to produce a lot of content to help people. So spreading the word is really the way we do it, about free ebooks, about free courses. We try to give you guys a lot for free. So please share the word. TNT event planning. Thank you, Mike, for your help and support. Which CCNP do you recommend for solution architect? I recommend the data center one. And here's the reason. The cloud is a network in a data center, and there's an actual CCNP data center. And there's even a focus that you can do on data center design and solution design. That's where I would do it. Data center, data center, data center. The cloud is a data center. All the cloud is a virtual place. Okay, I'll just describe how the cloud is. Let's say all of you that are not my students right now, we're going to go design a cloud. What are we going to do? We're going to take a physical data center. We're going to put routers in them and connect them, high-speed connections, switches in them, just like any other data center. Then we're going to rack 1,000,001 servers. We're going to connect our storage area networks to the servers. We're going to connect our routers to the internet. We're going to put our firewalls protecting us. We're going to put load balancers, physical load balancers in front of our servers, and poof, now we've got a data center. Now, what do we do with our data center? We install a thin layer of software, maybe Nutanix software. Basically, what we're installing is a little Linux software, and we're going to put it what's called a control plane or orchestration plane. We're going to have several servers, and the servers are going to keep track of where the virtual machines are in our network. They're kind of like a puppeteer. These 3 servers, the control plane of the servers, they're controlling the whole thing. Now, the rest of the control plane is controlling all those standard data center things. And they're just virtualizing, the control plane is virtualizing and putting your virtual machines wherever it feels like. Or, unless you want to use a placement group on a certain set of servers or a certain set of racks. So that's it. Our students build the cloud. You take the data center and you turn that into a cloud. That's it. It's nothing. So that's what a cloud is. So the people that get best, I mean, the routing and switching was the best one, TNT event planning, but Cisco got rid of it. So the data center would be the one, because the cloud is a virtual network in the data center. Know the network in the data center, and you know the cloud. So that's your best one. And that's what I recommend always. I'm a routing and switching guy, but I learned the data center. But if I had known the data center, I wouldn't have had to learn that. It would have been even better. Chris, if you want to bring in the next question. Dave, it's great to be here. Dave Ogosin, I am so happy to see you here. Welcome. Please always be here. We're thrilled to have you here. Gee, hi, Mike. What is the difference between an enterprise architect and a cloud architect? Okay, so they're really, really similar. So I like to look at it this way. At the bottom most right, you've got your most technical professional. That's called your cloud engineer. These people are really deep technical. Directly above that, you've got somebody that's called the technical architect, which is really a cloud engineer, but you don't know what to do with them, and they're really, really good. They're super senior, so you call them a technical architect. They're not really an architect. They're really doing engineering work, but you want to pay them more, so you call them an architect. Then you get into the solution architect and the cloud architect world, where basically you're a 50% technology professional, 50% leadership professional. And what you're doing is you're designing an end-to-end solution with cloud technologies. Now, the reality is, Jeet, those of us that are really good cloud architects also start doing enterprise architect work at the same time. But those people just know that the solution architect or the cloud architect job is about half technical, half leadership. Now, the solution architect, cloud architect job is, realistically speaking, about a director level position. And most of your time is not going to be spent with CEOs. It's typically going to be with like director level people at organizations at this cloud architect. Now, not me, because I do bigger stuff and I'm more of an enterprise architect. Now, once you take the leap from cloud architect or solution architect to enterprise architect, now you're getting into a position that's very non-technical. It's at least 75 to 80% business and about 20% technical. And this is where you're all day with C-level executives, and this is where you're talking business strategy, and this is where you're talking technology and potentially even workflow redesign. The enterprise architect is really a management consultant, and that's really me. That's where I'm happiest. So these jobs pay much more. These are, when you start getting from that cloud to the enterprise architect world, that's when you start going from that $250 to $300 to that $500,000 range, because now you're really a strategic business advisor. So a perfect enterprise architect portfolio would be kind of, I have it actually, it's you've got someone with a master's degree in their background, an MBA in business, people that have spent a tremendous amount of time taking leadership courses and communication skills courses and ROI modeling courses. That's your ultimate enterprise architect. Strategic business advisor, really, really, really wonderful, wonderful position. And then the next position up is basically a business architect, which is basically 100% business and 0% tech. Again, doing the same transformation. That's the key. The difference between an architect and an engineer is an engineer is a builder, and an architect is the transformation specialist. The engineers build, the architect designs. So when people think hands-on, that's all engineering. Architecture is all design. It's just a matter of which design. But they're great jobs, all of these architect jobs. I've had every one of them. I've been a technical architect, a solution architect, a cloud architect, an enterprise architect, a business architect. Every one of them is great. But I much prefer the business ones than the technical ones, for me personally. Chris, if you want to bring in the next one. Hakan. Most companies require many other certificates in addition to AWS. Which certificates fit a job ASAP if we are not an IT graduate? Hakan, I will tell you this. When people have too many certifications and they come to me, they can't get hired. I remove certifications from the resumes. So I am not going to tell you to take a bunch of certifications. I remove certifications from my resumes every day. I remove DevOps certifications every day. I remove SysOps certifications every day. I remove A+ certifications every day. I remove AWS developer certifications every day. So Akan, if you're looking to become a cloud architect, and I don't know which career you want, so if you tell me which career, I can tell you which certifications are going to make you stand out and look good. Companies don't want 30 associate certifications. People have told people that companies want 30 associate certifications. Here's what a company views as an associate certification: almost enough to do the job, but not really. And no matter how many almost good enough to do the job, but not really as you have, that doesn't equal good enough to do the job. So things like the Certified Solution Architect Professional look good, the Google Professional Cloud Architect good for architecture, the AWS Azure Expert looks good, the CCNP looks good, the CCIE looks good, the CISSP for security looks good, the CCSP for security looks good, the CEH Master looks good. But these are big certifications. But Hakan, I'm going to tell you this, and I mean this: getting certifications will not get you hired. You can have 100 of them and you won't get hired. People want people that can do the job, because it's so easy to mug up a bunch of questions and answers, and so many people do. Certifications are almost valueless in today's world. They're good for getting you the interview, and that's it. But when somebody comes in with 10 certifications, you know what we hiring managers do? We ask them questions on all 10 things, and if they don't know all 10 things like an expert, we kick them right out. So the key is to have 1 or 2 great certifications, big ones, things that stand out from the crowd. So when everybody else has 20 of them and doesn't know anything, and you have 1 or 2, but you're an expert, you get hired. People hire people the following things. This is what hiring managers want. Number 1, technical competency. Number 2, can they trust you? Number 3, do you know what you know and know what you don't know? Number 4, are you energetic? Are you enthusiastic? Can you bring out the best in others, meaning you're emotionally intelligent? Are you willing to go above and beyond? I mean, you're a team player. That's what employers care about, not your certification. So if you had 10 certifications and you came to me, I would remove 3 or 4 of them until I made you look like an architect. An architect does not have 10 certifications. An architect has 1 or 2. I have more certifications. I hide them. I take them because I need to know what's on them, but I hide them. The only thing you'll see on me is the Mike Gibbs, MS, MBA, CCA, Google Professional Cloud Architect, and I might list an AWS one. And the reason I don't list a lot of AWS ones is this: anybody can go mug up a bunch of questions and answer, buy a copy of the exam, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of certified people. It's not the certification that gets you hired. So if you want to get hired, do this: build competency, build good skills, work on your attitude, energy, enthusiasm, passion, work on how you can explain technology, because we're going to ask you about the tech. And it doesn't matter if you've got 1,000 certifications. If I ask you the difference between block storage and object storage, and you can't tell me that they're both types of storage area networks, and block storage is a type of storage area network where data is taken and is broken down into objects. And what's unique about object storage is that each object in object storage has metadata, which is data about the data, and that object storage can't be used by computers, and that object storage can't be used for files that change rapidly. And here's the reason why: as soon as something's touched, it creates a new version, which would fill up the RAID arrays. Therefore, object storage is really good for software distribution, for example, or for file sharing amongst things. It's really good in a big data environment because it's got metadata, and the big data environment can be queried to search through it. Very interesting. That's what a company would want to know about object storage. They might want to know that block storage is basically a storage area network, but the reason companies use it is it feels like local storage. They might want you to also notice that block storage works by taking data, placing it down into blocks, and placing it on the RAID array. You might also need to know that block storage is much slower than the kind of file storage that exists in a server, but it's your only option in the cloud for non-volatile storage. Therefore, block storage is used in an environment where you need something as close to as possible as a hard drive. But you need to know that block storage on the cloud is low performance, and you might need to create RAID arrays, and why. So Hakan, that's what's going to get you hired, being able to answer a hiring manager a question like that, not the certifications, not the certifications. So hope I answered your question. I want you to go out there and get hired. And when you're young and all your friends are on Udemy and they're basically getting certified in anything and they're not getting hired because they don't know anything, I want you to know something. Get 1 certification. Go for a CCIE or a CCNP. Become a master at something. Learn it with all your heart. Put your love into your heart. Put your heart into it. Become great at it. And when you get an interview, you stand out from the cloud. Because when everybody else's knowledge is a 1 out of 10 and the employer is looking for a 5 out of 10 and you're a 9 out of 10, you're not even going to make it out of the interview getting hired. I've only interviewed in 5 companies in my life, and I've been hired by all 5. 3 of them were on the spot. And on the spot, one of those companies was Cisco. One of them was WorldCom. And one of them was actually Riverstone, which is Nokia. So that kind of company is that big, hired me without even leaving there. The reason why? They don't want to let a good employee go to waste. Why was I a good employee? I was competent. It had nothing to do with my certifications. Yes, I had a CCNA, but you know what? It was the competency. They asked me one competency question in the beginning of that interview. I answered it so well, they said, we don't need to ask you any more tech questions. They're like, how do you feel about giving a presentation? I did a presentation on the fly and I was hired. It was that. They were checking my agility. So kind of keep that in mind. And you know what? Here's a good example. So I've got one student, Hakan. He's got a very small number of certifications. He came with me. He took my Cloud Architect Career Development Program. His certifications are really focused. They're the big one, an Azure expert and a certified solution architect professional. That's what he did. Not a million one. He went and interviewed for AWS. He hasn't even graduated college yet, but they liked him so much because when they asked him technology questions, he answered them. They made him present. They looked at his blogs. They saw that he was competent. They spoke to him. They heard the energy, the enthusiasm. You should see how he reached out to recruiters and wrote to them. He didn't tell them about his 20 certifications. He told them how he could help them. That's what hiring managers want. So you know what I'll do? I'll have Chris from my team post a link to that video in the chat box. It's a several-hour video, but I want you to see because he's someone young like you. Someone that's not even finished school. And Amazon's waiting 5 months for him. They already interviewed him and they want to hire him, and they're waiting 5 months for him to graduate school. Not because he has a lot of certifications, because he's great, because he's capable, because they know that he can make their business better and make their customers' business better. So you can see Yvonne's success story. Chris from my team both posted in the chat box. Yvonne is not rare. Yvonne is exceptional. I have a tremendous number of exceptional students in the Go Cloud Architects, Go Cloud Careers family. And we're a family. My students talk to each other all night, all weekend, and you should see the way they communicate and help each other. Yvonne is great. He's incredible, as are many people. But that's what it takes to get hired. It's not certifications. And why do I do these Cloud Architect career question and answer sessions? Because what happens is people want to get hired and they focus on certification. And they go on interview and after interview, and the hiring managers don't want them because they're solving the wrong problem. You've got to ask the right questions. You've got to solve the right problem. If you don't solve the right problem, you don't fix anything. Satam 19 Arya, how to start the cloud. Should you do an introduction to cloud computing first, learn Python, and then the operating system database in AWS? Well, Satam 19 Ara, what career would you like? Tell me the career, and then I can tell you how to start to the cloud, because we architects will never learn Python. But if you're a cloud engineer, it is absolutely critical. And we architects don't do any database languages. But a database, a database architect focus on the cloud would be. So Satam 19 Ara, it depends on the career you want. So tell us the career you want, and I would like to answer you. But with all the things you have listed, you've got a lot of different careers listed, and they're not going to be good for one career. So tell me exactly which career you want, and then I can help you, and I'd love to help you. So you don't spend a lot of time learning the wrong things and then showing up at an interview and not having the skills for the job. It's really important to have the right skills. So in the meantime, we'll come back and ask you the question when you tell us the right career. So Chris, if you want to bring in the next one, and we'll wait. Hakan, some people say that cloud is out-fashioned. Try data science or cybersecurity. Well, Hakan, I'm going to tell you this. I've had 2 data scientists come through my program, and the reason they came through my program is unless you have a PhD in statistics, even if you do, and you do a $40,000 data science bootcamp, it's still near impossible to get a job. There are 2 people that took my program that were data scientists. One is now working as a cloud engineer, and he was my student. Another one has a very important role in our family. So it's really hard to get a job in data science. Now, cybersecurity, I love. Now, the cloud is not old-fashioned or out-fashioned. The cloud is the biggest, most strategic thing to be in right now. So Hakan, I advise you to do this. I advise you to stop asking or listening to people And I advise you to go to the authoritative sources. And these are the authoritative sources. CIO Magazine. The CIO runs the technology company. They are the boss of every organization. If you read in CIO Magazine, they will tell you what they're looking for. And right up there at the top of their list are cloud architects and security people, which is exactly what we said. They do have some data there, but it's not that much. So the issue is the data science courses are really hard. And it's a wonderful job as a data scientist. It doesn't pay as much as a cloud architect. And it requires a much, much, much more expensive education because we're dealing with the statistics and calculus and algorithms. And I think it's all great. And if you want to be a data scientist, I think it's wonderful. I love it. But understand, it's not that easy to get these jobs. And that's why I get data scientists coming to me to learn how to be cloud architects, because that's the job we can get them, and they can't get the data scientist jobs on their own. And they can, if you're willing to apply for 200 or 300 positions, get a PhD in statistics, et cetera, just know they're very hard to get. Cybersecurity, I think, is a great place, but where do you think your cybersecurity is going to be? It's going to be on the cloud. So you're not going to be able to learn cybersecurity without learning the cloud, because everything's going to the cloud. So I think if you want a successful career, you should ask the people that are hiring the people what they want, not the people that are hoping to get jobs. And I make that recommendation constantly. So keep that in your mind. And data science, and it's funny, there's a data scientist that's listening to this that kind of told me that a data scientist doesn't get paid anything close to, to a cloud architect. It's much more like an engineering job. And it is an engineering job because they're the number crunchers and things. So kind of keep that in mind. If you're an analytical person, it's a great job, but it's very hard to get, and it's extremely expensive for the training. But I think it's a great career anyway. So just keep all those caveats in mind. Ransom. Passed your associates last week, but thinking of training since you're new to tech. Do you think it would be beneficial when you learn enough to write the professional and to get a job? Well, Ransom, there's two sides of that question. I could get you to pass the Certified Solution Architect Professional in 3 days and you'd still know nothing. So yes, you will pass the Certified Solution Architect Professional, but understand that it's nothing. Now, the next part of this Ransom is the whole point of the course is to help you get a job, and several of our students get a job every week. So yes, we'll give you the job. To put it into context, for people that are new to tech, our program is 500 hours. 20 hours of that is the Certified Solution Architect Professional. So 480 of the 500 hours is not that. And if you had just a Certified Solution Architect Professional, that's nowhere even close to enough to get a job. But when the time you get done our program, you will be. We will teach you the elements of systems architecture, because we will teach you how to design an end-to-end solution on multiple clouds, because that's what cloud architects do. We will teach you how to document that solution, present that solution, which is what the architects do. We'll teach you how to lead large teams of people, ask the right questions to the executives. We'll teach you how to interview, how to negotiate a business deal, how to negotiate a higher salary, and we'll help you get hired. And when you're done, we have 300 recruiters to help you get hired. So if you take our program and you do the work in our program, you'll get a cloud architect job. But just understand that anybody can get you the Certified Solution Architect Professional. The whole reason we started this business was to take all the people that passed all their certification courses from the certification providers, and all those people were certified but couldn't get hired. I would have never created this program. I created this program, Ransom, because I had no choice. I was helping a friend with a blockchain data center for fun. I was retired. I've always been coaching people. You know, it's one thing to charge $400 an hour, which is easy and it's fun to do coaching. You know, you do a couple hours a week, and I've done that for 20 years. And it's another thing to create a coaching program like this. I created this coaching program for the following reason. I was asked to coach a person, and it was a friend's son, and I said, I will coach you, and I'll do it for free. And I bought my friend's son 3 certification courses, 3 of them. 2 of them were on Udemy, and the other one was somebody that talked about cats a lot. And I love cats too. I love cats, but you know, that's it. And 3 days later, after the kid bought these courses, he said, Mike, I just set up an EC2 instance and an S3 bucket, but Mike, what is it? I said, what do you mean, what is it? He said, what's an EC2 instance? He said, there's this elastic compute cloud instance, but what is it? I said, what do you mean, what is it? It's a virtual machine. And he said, what's a virtual machine? And I said, you're now ready to graduate a computer engineering degree. You've now, and he's really smart, this kid, with an IQ of like 150. He's a genius. And He says, no, it wasn't in there. So I watched these 3 things, the best-selling courses out there. And you know what? When I asked him what it was none. So I watched these things and I couldn't believe it. I was horrified. The courses were there and they were telling you the name of the service and how to configure it, but there was no knowledge. There was nothing. It was completely worthless. It would help you pass the exam, but that's it. Nobody was ever getting hired. So I made a video on how to get your first cloud architect job. And within an hour, people reached out to me and said, please, Mike, help me. And that's why I did this. That's why I came out of the retirement, because I wanted to get people hired. And yes, I can get you hired, Ransom. I do it every day. Every day. I didn't even make it through Christmas without one of my students telling me they got hired on the weekend. So that's my normal life, and that's the world that I love, and that's what I do. So of course we can get you hired. We had to create this program because the certification that was out there was so bad. We had to do it to help people get hired, and that's why we run our free boot camps, and that's why we have our free ebooks and things, to give you something that's out there that doesn't have to cost you $5,000 or $10,000 for the week. But we have our program. If you want to get a cloud architect job, take our program. You'll get cloud architect hired, assuming you do the work and show up for all the classes. Can definitely help you. Patrick, we'd love to work with you when you're ready. Look forward to it. Robert Welch, cloud hire. Robert, it's so good to see you. John Clark, do we do all the training by ourselves or do we have staff? We have staff. In particular, I do the Cloud Architect Career Development Program training myself because it's my passion project. So for this particular program, I am the exclusive teacher of it, but I occasionally do have others help. For example, I have a big data architect that has been working with big data architectures for 20 years. When I teach the class and it gets to the big data section, he comes and typically takes over that because he knows more about it than anyone. So I try and bring experts. But realistically, kind of keep that understanding in your mind. So yes, I teach this course exclusively, but I also bring in some extra people to help out. One day we had a hiring manager come from AWS, and this hiring manager talked so much about why he loved our students. And he talked about how critical it was for soft skills and emotional intelligence and leadership. And he talked about why our program specially prepares people. That happened one day, for example. So he was a guest that came one day. Another day, there's a group of somebody that helps coach people, and we were working with them for things. So occasionally I bring some people out, but I teach this course because it's a passion project of mine. I've been an architect forever. I love teaching architects, and I've done it forever. Chris, if you want to bring in the next question. Mr. Businessman, what does a cloud security architect look like versus a solutions architect? You've heard security is great. Is the pay range the same? So, Mr. Businessman, let's talk about what affects pay. What affects pay is how much transformation you can do to the business. So, as a security architect, you are a specialist, which I think this is really, really, really great. So as a security architect, you are a specialist. Generally speaking, specialists paid more. But Mr. Businessman, let's think about it. As a cloud architect, if you stay more on the enterprise architect side and focus more on business, you will earn far more than that than doing the security. And here's why. Companies are willing to pay more for transformation than they are for protection as a rule. So I think as a cloud security architect, it is a great career. I think you'll easily earn $200,000 to $300,000 at it, et cetera, and that'd be perfect. Now, if you want to earn more than that, it's never about the tech. It's always about the gravitas, the emotional intelligence, the leadership, executive presentations, negotiation skills, and business acumen. That's the difference. And the difference between really that $200,000 architect and $500,000 architect is really leadership, business acumen, executive communication. But a lot of that business acumen is so important because we're going to transform businesses. Now, how do you walk into a business? And this is why we have so much business acumen training in our program, and tell somebody that I can help increase your sales, or I can improve your employee productivity, or I can cut your operational expenses by X by doing this, or your capital expenses by X, or I can increase the presence on your website And or for example, I can create a new process, and the new process will save your average employee 45 minutes a day. The average fully loaded salary of your employee is $49 an hour, and you have 42,000 employees. Therefore, by saving 45 minutes a day, I can save you this. The expected value of my solution is this, and therefore it should give you a 6 times return on investment capital in the first year. That's how you go from $200,000 architect to $500,000 architect, Mr. Businessman. So it's really at the base, it's about our technology capabilities. But as we move up, it's about our transformation, about our leadership. So that's the difference between the $180,000 engineer and the engineer architect and the $500,000 architect. It's how much can you change the business. If you can walk into a business and increase their sales by 3%, and their sales are $2 billion, they can pay you anything. So it's the transformation, Mr. Businessman. That is the key driver. So cloud architect, end-to-end. Cloud security, just focused on the security part of the architecture. So the person is focusing on the firewalls, the IDS, IPS systems, the visualization of the security, at least the designing of it, any kind of event-driven security. That's all they're focused on. And the security architect get focused deeply, deeply on security. But they're going to go in as a subject matter expert. For example, they're going to parachute in to talk to a customer. They're not going to be necessarily the same as the architect that's focusing on an end-to-end. So if you're looking for the ultimate career, it's cloud architect, enterprise architect, CTO, that kind of thing, CIO kind of thing. If you're looking for I love the tech, the security architect is the best thing, because you're now a cloud architect, mix it with security. You now have a specialty. The world will come to you because very few people know it. So it's just a matter of which kind of job you want. Both are really great. Cloud security architect, great job. Get to be focused on the tech, get to be a subject matter expert. When it comes down to it, the big expensive architects, when things get bad, they're a little less needed than the person that can lock down the system and keep them getting hacked. So that cloud security architect, love it, love it, love it. So hope you understand the difference. So the cloud architect is designing the end-to-end. The solution, the cloud security architect is only designing the security. Melissa, I love our GoCloud family. It is deeper than just a course. Melissa, I love our GoCloud family. When I set out doing this, what I was trying to do was put together a $50,000 program and charge basically a single day's cloud architect pay, so that anybody could afford it and still get a $50,000 program. What I found out was I created a family, and this family is amazing. And we have students like you, Melissa, that all over the world, that literally collaborate, help each other interview, practice interview each other, help each other get hired, do labs together. I couldn't be more proud. The message that you and Ivo Doikia and Gabriel and so many people, I'm reading this message, trying to show it to my wife. Now, Melissa, I want to make this clear. I am very well trained in martial arts. I was a firefighter paramedic for 7 years. That's how I paid my way through school. I'm kind of a tough guy. I read your notes and the students' notes, and I cried for like 3 hours, and I was showing my wife, and then I took a picture of it to show my brother, and then I took a picture of it to show my best friend. And I'm like, could you say this? Could you? And then I was showing it to my buddy Todd, who's a yoga instructor, and he's my performance coach. And then I called my executive coach, Francis, and and Andrea, and I started showing them some things. And they were all in tears, watching me be in tears based upon how happy I was with the things that have gone with my family. Darn it, Melissa, you got me in a little bit of tears again. So my students do this to me a lot, Melissa. I can't even begin to thank you for so much that you've added to this family. When I see people like Ronald McRae here, Sandy here, I've seen so far that I know is my student. I see my good friend Alonzo, who's basically my brother. And I met him through this program, and I start seeing people that are there. I mean, it's amazing. And then even when I get to see people that are not my students, like Tom over there, Yasas, Dioreo na Isado. I mean, it's just so good to see, Tom Orthias there that's over there. So, I mean, it's just a wonderful experience. So thank you all for being part of this family. Melissa, thank you for everything you do. I've only mentioned some of my students. Sandy is one of them. There's so many that are here on this call. I can't go through all of the names. Robert Welch is another one of them, who's just absolutely amazing. Fopi is a student. I mean, there's just so many good students that are here, in addition to people that are not our students and whatever. We're just so happy to have you here. And Melissa, it's not a course to me either. It's a family. So thank you. And Chris, thank you for making that family possible and doing all you do in the back end to help make it possible. Eric Gill, do you need a college degree to get hired as a cloud architect? Well, Eric, I just had one of my students get an offer from AWS and they had no college degrees. So the answer is no. And I've had plenty of students get hired with and without degrees. I do have degrees, advanced degrees, but they're in healthcare and business. I have no technology degrees whatsoever. So it's better if you have it, Eric Gill. I will tell you that not having it will affect you in some companies. I'd say 80% no, but 20% yes. But there's still a big market of people that will hire you if you're competent. It's about competency, and capabilities. That's the stuff that matters. You really, 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 really need to have that level of competency. Joshua, as a security professional that holds a CISSP, is it relevant to do the CCSP? Absolutely not. It's a complete waste of time, Joshua. Here's the thing. I recommend the CISSP, but for people that have a little less background and they have a little hard of a time justifying their security background, I recommend the CCSP. The CISSP is the only security certification you will ever need as an architect. It is the perfect architecture certification because it's general. It covers that end-to-end security approach, designing the security policy response. It's the perfect one. I was a CISSP for many years, Joshua. I never renewed it because it wasn't really relevant to my job, but Cisco made me get it. 5,000 of us got it, I think, in a matter of a week. It was a great certification. I respect it very much. And when I was, Mr. CCIE, CISSP, it looked really, really, really good together when I was in my technical side of my career. But so yes, that is a phenomenal thing, Joshua. Don't waste your time on another one. That is the perfect security certification. Focus any additional time on your leadership skills, your emotional intelligence, executive presence, and your architecture knowledge. And make sure you know security.
So the next question is going to be from someone who actually just enrolled over this weekend.
Okay, great. Fopi, how does one stay motivated, especially with the new terms that feel so confusing? So Fopi, here's something I like to tell my students. I like to tell people when they come into our program, they are entering an immersion program. What's the best way to learn a language? Be immersed in it. So for example, when I remember going to Panama 20 years ago for work, and I had to be there for a while. By the time I was done, I spoke Spanish to everybody. Now, I don't have a chance to speak Spanish every day, so I lost it, but the answer is I did. When I met my wife, I was not taught Greek growing up, but my wife taught. I met my wife, her whole family spoke Greek, and I didn't. And I decided that I wanted to know Greek, so I would try and talk to them in Greek. And I was completely confused for about 6 months. And after about 6 months, guess what? I spoke fluent Greek. So, Fopi, what's going to happen is we're going to invite you to when you join our Tuesday and Thursday classes, that's where we're going to teach architecture. And that's where the pieces and parts are going to tie together. Now, it's going to take about 3 or 4 weeks for any of it to make sense because we're talking about technologies that nobody's ever heard of unless they're a network architect or a data center architect. And I think you came to a certified, but the certification is, honestly, it's so unrelated to anything that we do that we have no choice to start everybody from ground zero. So don't worry about it, Fopi. Now, staying motivated, that's intrinsic. You've got to want to get there. I can't make you want to get there. That's up to you. So if you want it bad enough, you can do it. So what I'd say, Fopi, is when you have a big thing to accomplish, and Fopi, if you'll notice, one of the first things in there is a plan, a career development plan. Why do we start there? First, we need to know what is it you love. Because if you love databases, we'll do something on the cloud with you in databases, a cloud database architect, because we can get you there. If you like security, we'll focus you on cloud security. If you like the business side of it, the more enterprise, we'll focus you on that. So we need to know exactly what you want. And then don't worry about the terms. If there's a term that's confusing, do one of the following. Google it. Or send a message on Slack to one of our messages. Hey, anybody know what this is? I promise you're going to get somebody respond to you in a matter of minutes. Someone will respond to you in minutes. So the key is, participate, get involved, and you're going to do great. Sorry, people. I'm trying to speak here and I'm going to just mute this thing so it doesn't, people are asking us about the hours of our training and I don't want that disturbing us. I want to talk to you. So I would never be responding to them while we're speaking, but it was coming in. I don't want the distraction. So apologies for that. But just show up, participate, ask questions in class. You can ask so many questions. We got 3 hours of class. Ask, and ask some more. So make sure you ask some questions in class tomorrow. And make sure you follow the instructions that are part of that welcome email that you get, which tells you when to join, where the classes are, which Slack groups to join and all of that. And make sure you're in class tomorrow at 9:30 and we'll straighten out anything. And of course, once a week, we have a new orientation almost once a week. I know Chris did one last week. So make sure that you find the next orientation when he publishes it on Slack so you can get there, because that also helps too, because we want you to do great, FOPI. We're so excited you joined this weekend. And we promise you it takes about 3 to 4 weeks. All my students will tell you the same thing. So go out there, send a message in the Slack audience, introduce yourself, and you'll have friends and family members in a matter of minutes.
And I need to correct something you said there. Class tomorrow is at 9, not 9:30.
Oh, class tomorrow is at 9. See, this is why everybody needs a manager. So I have my chief operating officer looking out for me because I can't be in 3 places at one time like I think I do or like I try to be. And let me tell you, I try to do it every day. Bobby Zeus, how much will the program cost? Well, the program is $9.99 and we're offering a 30% coupon. So 70% of 1,000 is $700. So I think it's $699. Tom, it's so good to see you. So happy to see you. You're more than welcome for the book. But again, I'm so happy to see you. Manuel. Osman, just joined the program using the code. Could have sworn right before this class I saw a code came in with the name Osman, and I worked with an Osman in Lagos to help him get a network engineer job a while back, so I was wondering if there was a relation. Can't wait to get Cloud Hard. I can't wait for you to get Cloud Hard. Welcome, 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 Emmanuel. All my students will be super excited to meet you tomorrow, and welcome, welcome. We can't wait to see you. Chris, you want to bring in the next one? Robert Welch. Back from vacation, you listed most of the CISSP course while driving. You look forward to working with Mike and his team to become a cloud security architect. I think that's absolutely great. It's really funny, Robert. When I did my MBA, I was working in New York City, and I went to Widener University, which was 1 mile away from Delaware. So what I would do is I would drive from Princeton, New Jersey to New York City, which is only 40 miles away, but it was about 3 hours. So I would drive 3 hours to the office and I would listen to books on tape, or books on CD actually. And then I would listen to those same things driving to Delaware to class. And then I'd be going from Delaware back to Princeton, New Jersey. So with 8 hours of driving, I did it. So listening to things while driving is a great way to reinforce concepts. Just make sure you learn them. So fantastic. Look forward to you getting through the program being a cloud security architect as well. Look very forward to it. If you've got some questions, please ask them in the chat box. By all means, we're happy to answer any kind of questions we can. We love having you here. Sani. Looking forward to this next year and getting Cloud Hired. Great group and great program you have here for the community. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to you getting hired as well. And you know what? You will be Cloud Hired, because what I've seen from you in the last 2 to 3 weeks since you joined our program is nothing short of amazing. And I'm really excited for the world to see what you can do. Chris, you want to bring in the next one? Millicent, what a great way to describe our family. Honestly, Robert, I'm so grateful to Millicent. Millicent brightens my day with every post, every message, and I feel like she adds so much, and you add so much, and I just love the family we've created. And my biggest challenge is how do we keep this special family as we grow? And we're working really hard on it, because it's like nothing else I could possibly describe. People wouldn't even imagine until they start joining each other and talking. It's just wonderful. Melissa, Fopi Davis, hey, welcome to the family. I had no technical knowledge and was also confused. After a couple of weeks, like Mike said, I was ready to roll, no worries. So Fopi, Melissa, thank you so much. See, that's the family coming together to already see that they're there for you. So Melissa, thank you.
So as of right now, we only have one question left. So
okay,
we'll ask, while we're asking that one, we'll see if any more come in.
Okay, so if any of you have questions, let us know. We'll happily stick around a little longer for you. Otherwise, you know what? We'll see you another day. We want to do anything we can to help you guys get Cloud Hired. Mufaz, can you go from cloud security architect to cloud enterprise architect? Yes. Although it might be easier to go, I'm not sure if it's just cloud architect to cloud enterprise architect, or if it's cloud security architect, cloud architect, or if it's cloud architect to cloud security architect. That's going to be questionable. So Mufaz, it depends how much you know about security. It might be easier to get you a cloud architect job, and it might be easier to get you a security architect job. I don't know your security knowledge. Meaning, if you've got a lot of security knowledge, it might be easier to do cloud security architect, but it might be easier to go with cloud architect straight to enterprise architect. I don't really know you that well. If you submit a development plan, let me know what your development plan is if you're one of our students. But the reality is I'd go straight from cloud architect to enterprise architect in one step. If that was my ultimate goal, to be an enterprise architect, I wouldn't be wasting time on any other step. I would be right from the beginning focusing on the cloud architect and the business acumen skills. Well, I do the security architect if your ultimate goal is to become a cloud architect or an enterprise architect. The shortest distance between 2 points is always a straight line. So if your goal is enterprise architect, don't do security. If your goal is to end up as a cloud security architect, do security. But don't be a cloud security architect, which is a specialty, only to become a generic person, only to become an enterprise person. Go become a generic architect and move straight into our enterprise architecture. That would be what I would do. I think you'll save yourself a couple of years, and I think you'll, I think you'll be more likely to get to your goals. Because if you focus too much on the tech along your way, Mufaz, you're not focusing on the business, and then you're going to be less of an enterprise architect. So cloud architect, enterprise architect. That's the way I would do it if I was you. I'd skip the cloud security, unless your ultimate goal is ending with cloud security. Miss Laman Jamin. So Miss Laman Jamin, yes, I've got some ideas here. So Miss Laman Jamin, there's two approaches. And I'm going to talk about the victorious mindset versus the I'm not going to get there mindset. Let's talk about the victorious mindset. This is Ivan. Ivan has a victor's mindset. If I told Ivan that AWS was 10,000 miles away and he had to walk there, Ivan would walk there. So Ivan would say no. When Ivan applied, he emailed 15 different recruiters at AWS and wrote them a compelling reason of why they should hire him. So Miss Laman Jamin, I'd say the first thing is some people put up roadblocks. I don't have the right background, or what if my degrees are wrong, or what if my gender affects my ability to get hired? Where other people like Ivan say, I'm going to come to America at 15 years old with nothing, and I'm going to go live with a family while I'm going to the community college, while I'm working a job, commuting 3 hours a day to class. So what I'd say the first thing is mindset. The victor, or the person that wins, Miss Laman Jamin, is the person that says the only way I won't succeed is if you kill me first. Now, that's my mindset, Miss Laman Jamin, and everything I've ever accomplished has been like that. The only way I won't get to the destination is if somebody kills me first. Now, it may sound extreme, but that's the way I do that. I will tell you, almost every person that I've ever seen that's a CEO, a Navy SEAL, a sniper from the Marine Corps, a executive at every major company, all of them had that attitude that there's nothing you can do to stop me. And no matter how many times somebody tells you no, go, go, go. So the next time you hear somebody say, you hear some news that sounds goofy, ignore it. So Miss Laman Jamin, here's what I recommend. Don't listen to the news at all. Here's why. Most of what we hear on TV is negative because negative news sells more. So when you watch the news, and I watch the news because I need to know what's going on economically to advise my clients, it's like every channel I turn on, and I turn down all the channels. And the reason I turn on all of them is everybody's biased in some way. So if I listen to 10 people's theories, I average them out in my head. So when I do that, everything sounds like it's negative in the world. Like everybody's dying and killing each other and we're all going to die. And yet when I go outside, like if I were to go to the hospital, or for example, Ms. Laman Jamin, I met a nun in Cameroon that was organizing a group of people to work together and study together to build careers. In the middle of a war, this nun is out there and she's not letting anything stop her. So, when I spoke to that nun, I got 40 of my people to go out there and help that nun, because that nun looked at me in her eyes and I saw what she was trying to do and I saw it. So here's the key. Never let anything stop you. Islam and gentlemen, also know that everything good is hard. And that if it was easy, the rest of the world would be there. That's why they're not, because it's really hard. What keeps them from getting to their destination? Not working hard enough to get there. So I'd say if you want the goal, win first and then go to war. That's what they said in The Art of War. Mislam and Jamin, see that goal in your mind. See the win in your mind. See everything you have to do to get there. Now, Mislam and Jamin, for example, when the doctors told me I couldn't walk and I would never walk again, every time I went to the doctor, what they said is, would you like a morphine pump? Would you like pain meds? And I said, no. If I'm taking pain meds, I won't have the energy to do the physical therapy to get better. And they said, but you're in pain. And I said, I might not be able to sleep, and I might not have 5 minutes on my day that's happy, but I'd rather work through pain so I could walk, because in my mind, I saw myself walking again. Now, Miss Lama and gentlemen, I was in the physical therapy center for upwards of 8 hours a day. And they just knew me, and they're like, that's Mike. He's the nurse practitioner. We love Mike. Yes, we're not getting paid anything close to what Mike's starting in terms of services. But while Mike's been in the physical therapy center, he's done physical therapy on this patient and written a prescription for this patient while he's here. So I kind of worked at the physical therapy center as a volunteer while they were taking care of me all day long, because I wanted to get better. Miss Lam and Gemin, right now, when I can't walk down the stairs in the morning. It takes me 3 hours to walk down the stairs. I have to do 3 hours of desensitization of my foot just for my RSD. So what do? I always focus on the end goal. When that cat licks me in the morning and wants me to feed the cat fresh shrimp, and I love my cat Cindy, and I think the thought of getting down the stairs feels harder or worse than death because my foot hurts so bad from RSD, and my cat looks at me with these little feed me eyes, I figure out a way to stumble down the stairs, and I don't even use my left foot. I crawl down the stairs, I get the cat's food, and then after that, I go do my 3 hours of physical therapy long before anybody sees me on a 9 o'clock call. So what I'd say is, if you want anything great, it's a big dream, go for it. Build yourself the ultimate plan. Build yourself the perfect battle plan, and know that every day that plan's going to be hard. When someone's training for the Olympics, the people that win train all day, every day, but they don't just train. They train like a laser. Here's the thing. If you're training just cloud architecture, Ms. Lam, you're going to learn just cloud architecture. If you like, hey, this blockchain thing's interesting, this security thing is interesting, this thing is interesting, this thing is interesting, you're not going to get to the destination because you're going to keep going. So the key is find exactly what you want, write it down, visualize it in your mind, build the battle plan, and be honest, are you getting through the plan? But Ms. Lam and gentlemen, the most important thing I'm going to say is keep mindset involved. I know a lot of people that make every possible excuse why they can't be successful. And when you speak to these people, it's sad because they're smart. And as soon as you solve one problem, they're going to create the next problem and the next problem and the next problem and the next problem. Instead, be the victor. Be the one that says, I'm going to get to this destination. The only way you can't get me there is if you kill me. And mind that in your mind. And of course, nobody's going to kill you. In fact, that's how guys told me to get through SEAL training. They said I had to figure out that the only way I wasn't going to win is if I died of a heart attack along the way. So that's what I say is, don't go that crazy where you're going to go until you die. That's a stupid thing to do. We're not talking about this, but get that in your mind that the only thing that can stop you is something that serious. And then you'll get to the goal. Like a laser, like a shark, exactly. But keep that winner's mindset of no matter what, you can't stop me.
So I think that's our last questions. I think that's a good one to end on.
I think that's a good question to end on. So everyone, honestly, anytime we get to speak about cloud architect jobs, solution architect jobs, we talk about cloud architect careers, solution architect careers, or any cloud computing career in general. I love it. It's a chance for us to all get together, how to connect. So, we've got a free ebook. Please download it. We've got that free Certified Solution Architect Associate course. Please sign up for it. We're running a discount at 30%, which we never do, for the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. Go out there and get yourselves cloud hired, signed up for this. And for those people that have signed up, we'll see you in class tomorrow. And this week, we've got a special section of classes lined up for our students right before the new year. So it's been an honor to speak to you. Wonderful afternoon with you. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Take care, everyone.